Thorns and Ashes by Ruby Knight. Don't forget to subscribe. New books every week.
Marrying Leone Agosti was supposed to seal an alliance, but for Angelina Novikov, it feels more like a prison sentence. Trapped in a deadly game of power and deceit, she's caught between the shadows of her family's sins and the fiery obsession of her ruthless husband. Leone may control her world, but he'll never control her heart, or so she tells herself. Leone Agosti didn't choose Angelina because she was perfect. He chose her because she was dangerous. Her fire ignites something within him he can't afford to feel, and her defiance pushes him closer to the edge. But as enemies from both their pasts close in, and betrayal brews within their walls, Leone realizes that loving Angelina could be the one risk even he isn't prepared for. In a world where loyalty is a lie and love is a weapon, Angelina and Leone must decide if they'll burn together or destroy each other.
This is Book 2 of the Empire of Ash and Roses series. Book 1, Roses and Bullets.
Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you enjoy this story. I will post a new book every Friday. Chapter 1. Angelina. Leone had left as soon as we got out of the dungeon-looking place, and shortly after Adeline had come by to take me to my room. "Miss Agosti, I have your dinner ready. Did you want it in your bedroom or at the dining table?" she asks as she walks beside me. "I'm not really hungry, Adeline," I say, my thoughts still on my papa. What would Leone do now that I asked to keep him alive? Would he be sent back home? We make it to the room and I open the door, a sigh leaving my mouth when I walk in. I'd have to be in this cell again.
Leone's pav. "We're giving him back. Tell his men to stop trying to kill me, it's pathetic." I mumble as I down a glass of whiskey, my gun in my hand as my eyes trace over every detail. Yes, of course, sir." The short man stumbles over his words, quickly walking out of the room. He was only used to send messages to my men, since Matteo had too much on him anyways. I sigh when I see the text messages on my phone from my father. He wanted an update about Angelina every week. What was I supposed to tell him? She didn't like me much anyways. I shut my eyes, trying to distract myself from thinking about her, but lately she's been the only one on my mind. I told myself I wouldn't take it this far, but I don't think I could hold back any longer. Causole mifa impazire, if she makes me crazy. I had never felt this way about a woman before, so why was she affecting me so much? She was terrified of me anyways. I look over to the bottle of whiskey, annoyed when I notice it's empty. I felt frustrated, surely, and needed to but I held myself back. I wasn't even interested in effing any other woman anymore. All I thought about were her soft lips and the way her eyes looked when I touched her. I was still mad from earlier. How could she so easily just run off with some random man? How could she trust him so easily, yet get so scared of me? I groan in annoyance when I hear a soft knock on my door. Vaffanculo, F off. The door opens anyways, and I lean my head to the side, a look of confusion on my face when the maid I used to F walks in. Her uniform was nearly all the way unbuttoned, as usual, and she had her skirt pulled up so high her X was showing. "Mr. Agosti, I was told to bring you these papers," she says, her eyes trained on me as she closes the door behind her. My eyes move down to the papers in her hand, and she walks over, holding it out to me. I'm about to grab it, until she drops the papers on the floors. "Oh no. How clumsy of me, let me just pick these up," she says softly, licking her lips. I glare at her as she gets on her knees in front of me, making sure to point her chest out as she slowly picked up the papers. "What do you think you're doing?" I ask, and she looks up at me through her lashes, a mischievous look in her eyes. If anything, she was just turning me off. "Nothing, sir. I'm just grabbing these papers from the ground," she says with a smile, and as she gets up, she moves her hand on my X through my pants, looking into my eyes before looking down and biting her lip. "We could do something else, though," she whispers, moving to straddle my waist. She had her arms loosely wrapped around my neck, and I scoff, tightly grabbing her hand and pulling it off of me. Get the F out of my house, I order, pushing the tip of my gun against her head as I glared into her eyes. I feel her body tense up at the cold metal, and her face turn pale. She was pissing me off. I have a wife and the whore knew that. But you don't want me. She stumbles out, her lips quivering. I roll my eyes. I was too drunk for this shit. You know I don't like repeating myself, I say slowly, pulling the safe lock off. A small smirk covers my face, seeing her terrified face. She quickly gets off my lap, bowing her head down before quickly walking towards the door. She was lucky I didn't kill women. My eyes lock in on the door when I see Angelina walk past the hallway as the maid closes the door. I push myself off of the chair, quickly opening the door. I look around and see her walking down the hallway into one of the guest restrooms, her dark hair loose over her shoulder. Her maid was waiting outside of the bathroom for her. Oh, Mr. Agosti. What can I do? Her maid starts when I walk over to the door. Go clean a floor or something, will you? I mumble, opening the bathroom door and walking in. I scrunch my eyebrows together when I see her washing blood off of her finger. What the hell are you doing? She yells, looking up at me with her eyes wide. I stumble over to the sink, grabbing her hand and looking at the cut on her finger that was still bleeding non-stop. Hey, are you drunk? She says, looking up at me, and I turn my head to face her. No, I mutter, grabbing a bunch of napkins and pushing it against her bloody finger to stop the blood. I don't need your help. She scoffs, trying to pull her finger away, but I keep it in place, scowling at her. Stop moving. It's just a little cut. I can put a bandage over it, she sighs after giving up. Who hurt you? I say, looking into her gorgeous brown eyes. My hand unconsciously moves to push her soft hair behind her ear. Angelina looks up at me, her lips parted. It's just a paper cut. She stumbles over her words, quickly looking away from me. I look down at her low-cut white tank top and sweatpants, moving my hands onto her waist and pulling her closer to me. Why are you so nervous around me? I whisper into her ear. My lips move in front of her own, a smirk covering my face when a gasp leaves her mouth at our distance. Stop, you're just drunk, she says, pushing away from me. What if I wasn't? I say, my eyes following her every move. Her face turns red and she glares at me, pushing my shoulder with her own as she pushes past me, walking out of the bathroom. Let's go, Adeline, she says, and I follow behind her. Why are you following me? She suddenly says, turning her head towards me. Her maid looks between us confused. Following you? I am just going to our room, I say, looking at her with a mischievous look. Are you coming? It's time for bed. I wink, stumbling towards the bedroom. When the F did the door to this bedroom get so far away? You're crazy, you know that, she says, pushing me out of the way and opening the door herself when I fail to, after trying to open it the other way. She closes the door when we get in, and I watch as she grabs the box of princess bandages I bought her, picking out a girl with a teal dress. I walk up behind her, snatching the bandage out of her hand and unwrapping it for her. She freezes with the box still in her hand. Leone, I can do it myself, she says, but I ignore her as I grab her hand, gently putting the bandage over her finger. I was crazy for getting turned on just by her saying my name.
Chapter 2. Angelina. Leone, I can do it myself, I say, but Leone ignores me, grabbing my hand and gently putting the Princess Jasmine bandage over my finger. I don't know how much he drank, but it was definitely too much. You know, we haven't had our first night yet. He mumbles into my ear, and I feel a shiver run down my spine. I hated how nervous he made me. I had to control myself, especially after what he had done to Sebastian. I'm tired, I say, pushing away again and walking towards the bathroom. I had a glance of his disappointed face before I walked away. After I take a shower, I walk out and find Leone asleep on the bed. He didn't even have the comforter over him. I walk closer to the bed, a small smile covering my face. How did such an angry person look so peaceful while they slept? I move the comforter over him, hesitant on whether I should sleep on the bed or not. Would he be mad if I slept next to him? He hadn't slept in the same room as me ever since I came here. Maybe there was a reason. I ignore my overthinking and just get in the bed, making sure to move as far as I could from him. I try sleeping but fail as I think about today. How did Leone even find out what my papa had done to me? And why did he even care to do anything about it? I move my head to the side, watching as he slept peacefully. He seemed tired. I wonder if he ever really even got any sleep on the days he hadn't slept in the room with me. Why was I thinking about him anyways? I look at the clock to see it's 2 a.m. A sigh leaves my mouth when my thoughts keep going back to my papa. Was he still in that dirty room? I decide to get some water to clear my head. I quietly walk down the dark hallways, feeling my heart race in fear at the thought of a monster watching me. Positive thoughts, Angelina, positive thoughts. I repeat to myself as I walk downstairs towards the kitchen. I finally get to the quiet kitchen and fill a glass up with cool water. I quickly drink the cool liquid and put the cup in the sink, walking back up the stairs to the bedroom. I felt a weird vibe and wanted to get back to where Leone was. I had to admit it, I felt safe around him, oddly. I finally reached the handle of the door, relief washing over me too soon. My body freezes when a large hand covers my mouth with a fabric. The world turns dark as I pass out, only feeling the person's large hand tightly gripped around my body. I groan as my hand moves up to my forehead, my eyes slowly opening as I look around the room I was in. My eyes widen as I get up quicker than I should have. Whose room was this? The room was dark, but I could make out some of the objects. I looked towards the window, noticing it was still dark outside. Did I get kidnapped again? I'm about to get up to try running away, until I notice a figure sitting in a chair. I squint my eyes to get a clearer look, and feel relieved when I see it's Leone. He was leaned back in a chair, his legs spread and his knuckles on the side of his head as he slept, his suit jacket off as he wore the dress shirt with a couple buttons open and his hair messy. Why was I in here? It looked like a hotel, a really nice one. Memories of what happened not too long ago come back to me, and I look over to Leone. I wonder if he had killed Sebastian after what he had almost done to me. I finally have you to myself without that mother effer, I hear a deep voice. W, what are you doing? I stutter as he walks over to me, and I notice the gun in his left hand, a terrible smile plastered on his face. My hands were tied together on the dirty wet floor. I'm going to F that Italian mother effer's little innocent Russian princess, and then kill you, he says, grabbing me and quickly covering my mouth before any sort of scream left my mouth. My voice is muffled by his hand as he unzips his pants with his other hand, pulling my sweatpants down. Only then did I focus in on the man's face, my eyes wide when I see Sebastian in front of me. I feel hot tears rapidly move down my face, my eyes blurring as I try to scream but no noise making it out. My body moves back and forth trying to escape, but his hold was too strong against my own. Stay effing still. He growls, slamming my head against the hard tiled ground. I feel everything spin at the force, my eyes not able to focus on anything. I feel his dirty hands start to pull my underwear off, his hands grabbing my excess as he runs wet kisses all over my chest. I couldn't feel anything, only the hot tears that burned my skin. He looked over at my hand, a disgusting smirk on his face as he snatched my princess bandage off of my finger. You will always just be a whore, he whispers before covering my mouth with his dirty hand. Before he can do anything else, I feel the weight of Sebastian pulled off of me, his hand off my face now, and I gasp for air. I move to the corner of the room, sobbing as I can barely pull my sweatpants back up from my shaking hands. Leone was punching Sebastian mercilessly, not giving him any time in between the punches. You effing bastard! Leone yells, and Matteo runs in, looking over at me to check if I was safe, before taking off his jacket and pulling it over me. "Let's get out of here, all right?" he says, but I pass out before being able to even respond to him. End of flashback. "Are you feeling okay?" I hear Leone suddenly say, his voice husky as he slowly stands up, walking towards me. He's about to put his hand on my forehead, until he hesitates and moves it back. "Better than before," I mutter, watching him carefully as he walked down the large hotel room to turn the light on. I flinch at the sudden brightness, my eyes squinting until they get used to it. "Drink this," he says, putting a bottle of water in my face, and I flinch, slowly grabbing it and chucking the cool liquid down. I look down at my hand, noticing the new Aurora bandage placed over my finger. "Why did you bring me here?" I ask, taking a closer look around the room. The room was covered in luxurious decorations, the bed covered in black bedding, and the room furnished with gold-lined furniture. I look down, freezing when I see myself dressed in his black t-shirt and my hair wet. "Did you wash me?" I say, snapping my head up at him as I cover myself with the blanket, not even letting him answer my first question. "I had to. You threw up all over yourself in Matteo's car," he says, and I feel my cheeks turn red. I threw up? And all over Matteo's expensive car, out of anywhere? He had taken me away from the building, while Leone was busy beating Sebastian up. Just the thought of Sebastian made me feel like puking again. My eyes catch sight of his bloody knuckles from earlier. "Did you kill him?" I whisper, looking at his knuckles. "What do you think?" he says, and I nod my head, getting up from the bed. I have to pull the shirt down a little, so I don't flash him as it went just above my knees. He carefully watches my every move as I grab a first aid kit, moving back to the bed and patting a spot next to me for him to sit at. "I don't need that, get back to bed," he says, trying to grab the first aid kit from my hands, but I quickly move it back before he can take it. "Why not? You shouldn't just leave your hands like that, especially after helping me," I say. "It's 4 a.m. he sighs. "Fine, then lay down and you can sleep while I wrap your hand," I say, and he looks at me with an eyebrow raised. "I'm not tired," he says, and I raise my eyebrow at him. He definitely seemed tired when he was peacefully sleeping. "Sure you aren't," I say, and he sighs, moving to the bed and sitting down on it. I start cleaning his hand, focused on making sure I didn't hurt him. "You were right about him," I whisper, wiping off the blood. I can't believe I trusted Sebastian so easily. I really was naive. "I'm always right. Don't get too XY." I interrupt, and a small smile covers his face. It's silent for a moment, and I look up to check if he had fallen asleep, but he was just looking down at me. I quickly look back down when my cheeks turn red, continuing to clean his hands. My father, you let him go, right?" I say, trying to distract myself from his gaze. "He got treated before leaving. My men took him back to your old home," Leone says, and I nod my head. "Are you going to talk to him?" Leone says. "I don't know if I can forgive him so easily, but I want to, I really do. Everyone can become a better person, no matter how bad their past was," I mutter, finishing up as I wrap his hands. "All done," I say with a smile, as I look up at him. He searches my eyes, looking at me with a gaze no one has ever given me before. "Even me?" he says, and I push his shoulder, a laugh leaving my mouth. "Except for you, you're not a forgivable person," I joke, and he squints his eyes at me. "You're going to regret that, Principessa," Leone says, and I roll my eyes. "Sure, and what are you going to do?" I screech when he suddenly starts tickling me, a laugh leaving my mouth. An actual laugh. Even after what Sebastian had done, Leone made me happy. He made me forget that had even happened. He made me feel warm inside in the best way you could think. I didn't know what all these feelings meant, and it was scaring me. I was supposed to hate him. Why was he making me feel so happy? Wait, it hurts. I lie and he stops, looking down at me worried. His body was hovering over me now. I can't help the smile that takes over my face, my lie showing through. You little liar. He laughs, tickling me again, and I feel myself growing abs from the laughs leaving my mouth. Chapter 3. Angelina. As soon as I walk into the estate with Leone ahead of me, Adeline quickly runs up to me, checking to see if I was okay. It looked like she had been waiting all morning. Miss Agosti, are you okay? Let's go get you rested. Adeline quickly says, as she inspects to check where I had gotten hurt. I feel better now, Allison, thank you. I smile, as I walk with her towards my bedroom. I can't help myself when I look back, watching Leone, as he walked down a separate hallway on a call. Would he be back to his usual self now that we were back? Everyone was so worried when you disappeared. Thankfully Mr. Agosti found you so quick. Adeline sighs, opening the bedroom door for me. She had already laid out fresh clothes and breakfast for me. Oh yeah, how did he find me so quick anyways? I say as I eat a grape from the large bowl of fruits Adeline had prepared for me. My thoughts run back to Leone's face, as he was beating up Sebastian. I had never seen him so angry before. The cameras most likely, he tracked down the car and sped over there, probably at an illegal speed. Adeline says, from the bathroom where she was putting rose petals in the bath. He really does care for you, miss. I haven't ever seen Mr. Agosti care for anyone like this in all the years I've worked here. Adeline says, smiling at me as she bows her head down and walks out of the room. Care for me? Leone? I lay my head back in the bath, as I try to let reality settle in. Why was it so hard for me to believe a man would ever care for me? Angelina, are you feeling better? My head pops up from the book I had been reading these past few days. Leone hadn't spoken to me at all. The only thing that was different was he would come sleep in the room, usually at 3 to 4 in the morning when he had finished with work. Adeline told me Leone had brought in more security around the house. I figured he only slept in the same room, just in case anything ever happened again. I'm okay now. I'm trying not to think about it too much. I sigh as I close my book, sitting up from my position on the couch. Must be nice for you. Do you know how long it took to clean the puke from Lucia? Matteo says, a horrified look on his face. Who's Lucia? I ask, my eyebrows scrunched together. I thought I had puked in his car, not a person. My car, she's the finest woman in town. Matteo smiles proudly. You named your car? I ask with my eyebrow raised. It's not just a car, it's an $8.5 million Veneno Roadster. He says, his eyes filled with passion as he speaks about Lucia. I almost choke on air at the price of the car. How could someone even have so much money? $8.5 million? I say, still not able to process how a car could be so expensive. What, has Leone not shown you his cars yet? The black Bugatti he's driven you in is $18 million alone. Lucia is still better, of course. I was shocked Leone had even let someone like me in that expensive car. Matteo looks down at the book in my hand, a smirk on his face. Please, don't tell me you're into those awful romance books. He says, snatching the book and flipping through the pages. I glare up at him, trying to take the book, but he moves it over his head as he starts to recite a page. His eyes sparkled in the sun. Oh, how much I wanted to kiss his soft pink lip. He doesn't get to finish, when I stand on the couch and jump onto him, grabbing onto the book before I got even more embarrassed. Stop. Don't you know what privacy is? I scowl, his hand wrapped around my waist to keep me from escaping. I had my hand tightly wrapped around the book, so he couldn't ready any longer. Oh, don't be so embarrassed, we all have a freaky side. He smirks, and I widen my eyes at him. What's wrong with you? I yell, still trying to pull the stupid book out of his hands. There wasn't even anything weird in it, just a couple kiss scenes. What's going on here? We both freeze as the deep voice sounds in the room. My eyes move to the side, feeling my throat dry. Leone stood in the large living room, his eyes fuming as he looked at the scene in front of him. I quickly pushed myself off of Matteo, this time with the book in my grasp too. I swear it was all her, Matteo says, pointing at me. I glare at Matteo, smacking his hand away from me. Nothing happened, he just stole my book and I was trying to get it back. I say, my eyes unconsciously checking Leone out. He always looked good wearing white button-ups, the color going with his olive-toned skin and dark messy hair. I had to, your wife likes reading some freaky books. Matteo shrugs, an amused look on his face. My head snaps towards him, what a snitch. I look back towards Leone about to tell him Matteo was lying, but no words can even leave my mouth as his dark eyes gaze into mine, his thick eyelashes making his gaze seem even colder. I need to talk to you, alone. Leone just says, and I nod my head. I feel my cheeks turn red in embarrassment when I realize he was talking to Matteo and not me. You can F him later, we have important work to do now, sweetheart. Matteo winks. I watch in shock as they walk out of the room, speaking in Italian as they discuss whatever it was. How embarrassing. I muttered to myself, groaning in annoyance at how clueless I was. I throw the book on the couch before throwing myself down on there as well. I look up at the ceiling, seeing Adeline walk in through my peripheral vision with my lunch in her hands. I quickly get up at the delicious smell of the food. Oh my gosh, that looks so good, I say as I look over the grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup, nearly drooling. I quickly start eating, hoping the food will make me ignore the embarrassment. Chapter 4. Angelina. After that interaction between Matteo, I hadn't seen Leone for the rest of the day. It's like he was trying to avoid me. I just didn't get it. He was so nice that night, so different, but now he was back to his cold self. Was he always so bipolar? Miss, it's time for dinner. Mr. Agosti and his friends are eating in the main dining hall. Did you want to join them, or would you like your dinner brought up to you? Adeline asks as she holds a pile of freshly washed towels. Join Leone and his friends for dinner? I hadn't really talked to Leone in a couple days. Would he be angry seeing me there? Wait, why did I even care anyways? I'm not sure, Adeline. He didn't even invite me. Plus, I don't want to intrude. I mumble, playing with the hem of my t-shirt. Oh, is that why you don't want to go? Adeline giggles, and I nod my head slowly, confused at why she was laughing. Did I say something weird? Mr. Agosti was the one who asked me tell you if you wanted to come to dinner. Adeline smiles. He asked if I wanted to eat dinner with him? That was new. I'll go eat dinner with them then. I say hesitantly, and Adeline's eyes sparkle as a large smile covers her face. We have to dress you up, miss, to make Mr. Agosti flustered. She winks. If I'm dressing up, it's for me, not him. I sigh, looking at the two top options Adeline had laid out for me. I decided I'd keep the clothes Leone had bought me a while ago, when everything ended up just being a misunderstanding with Elizabeth. The first top was a basic black long sleeve, and the second was a white long sleeve with a deep cut. Let's be honest, he'll be drooling over you in the white one. Adeline giggles, and I completely contradict everything I had said not even a minute ago when I give in and take the white top, pairing it with blue jeans and a gold necklace with gold hoops. Was this too much? What if he thought I was trying too hard? Adeline loosely curls my dark hair and applies mascara, blush, and lip gloss on me. Before I leave, I slip on my white sneakers and spray some perfume. Maybe this was a bad idea. I tell Adeline when I hear all the men speaking in Italian to each other as we get closer to the large dining room. I didn't know a single word in Italian. It would be awkward being the only one not being able to understand. I'm sure Mr. Agosti will be happy seeing you. Look at how gorgeous you are. Adeline says, and I smile softly, but I was still nervous. We get to the door, and I immediately regret every decision I had made. This was stupid. Why was I even dressing up for him? What has gotten into me? I'm about to completely turn around and leave until the butler opens the door for me, a large smile on his face. Great. As soon as the doors open, the table gets quiet and I'm greeted with all their eyes on mine, a nervous feeling setting in the pit of my stomach. There were at least 10 men seated at the table, one of them being Matteo. I could only hope he wouldn't bring up the stupid book and embarrass me again. Angelina, welcome. Matteo smirks, a glint of amusement in his eyes. He knew I was nervous and wasn't making the situation any better. I smile back at him, but it doesn't hold the same meaning a smile usually has. He must still be salty over me throwing up on Lucia. I felt bad, but I had already apologized. I didn't know what else to do. All the men look away when Leone clears his throat, and they all go back to their conversations. My eyes lock with his, and I walk towards the table, his eyes dark as he looks me up and down. Sit, he says, pointing at a spot next to him. As much as I wanted to roll my eyes at him, I wanted to avoid any more embarrassment tonight, so I nod my head slowly. I'm about to sit down in the chair when Leone suddenly pulls me down to sit on his lap, his hand wrapped around my waist. His fingers leave a burning trail on my bare skin where my crop top didn't reach. I feel my cheeks instantly turn red, an amused smirk on Leone's face as he looked at me. I glare at him, trying to get off, but he had a tight grasp around me. So much for not being embarrassed. What a great first impression. Oh come on, not in front of my salad. A man groans, covering the bowl of salad with his hands. He had more of an American accent, his hair dark brown and his eyes a bright green. Oh shut up, Alex, it's not like you were going to eat it anyways. Another man jokes, taking his salad and transferring it to his own plate. The table bursts into laughter, and a small smile covers my face at Alex, who still had his fork that he was about to eat his salad with hanging in his hand, an annoyed look on his face. Very funny, he grumbles. I watch in amusement, trying to see everyone who was at the table. All the men look like they could kill you in seconds, but their bright smiles and deep laughs showed just the opposite of that. My eyes land on Matteo, who was looking at me with a mischievous look the entire 5 minutes I had been here. I glare at him, shaking my head to hint to him not to say a single word. He just smiles innocently, shrugging his shoulders. I was tempted to throw a piece of corn at him, but I feel myself freeze when Leone's hand moves from my waist to my upper thigh. I look down at him, just to see him already looking up at me. La mia bella principessa, he mumbles, playing with the wedding ring on my finger. My beautiful princess. What does that mean? I ask, looking at him with my eyebrows scrunched. He doesn't answer and instead holds up a fork with a piece of steak on it, up to my mouth. Nothing important, he says, and I roll my eyes, taking the fork and eating the steak myself. Leone's phone starts to ring, and I take the chance to escape my position on his lap and move onto the chair next to his. I notice his burning gaze on mine as he talks through the phone, but I ignore it, focusing in on the conversation. A man whose name I learned to be Vincenzo was very passionately telling a story about how he beat Matteo in a fight last week. This was the most lively I've seen the dining hall in this house. Usually I would just eat alone, in silence. I excuse myself to go to the restroom, walking down the empty hallways. There were some maids here and there, but otherwise it was pretty silent. I quickly finish up in the bathroom and open the door, a gasp leaving my mouth when Leone's tall figure stood in front of me. You scared me. I breathe out, about to walk past him, but his fingers wrap around my belt loop and pull me back up to his chest. I look up at him, my breathing heavy as my chest moves up and down. His eyes travel down my face to my lips, and I feel my heart beat crazy at our distance. I missed you, he mumbles, moving a piece of my hair behind my ear as he searched my face. Chapter 5. Angelina. I missed you, he mumbles, moving a piece of my hair behind my ear as he searched my face. Did Leone have feelings for me? Even in the smallest bit? I can't help but want to smile at the thought, but quickly get snapped back into reality. Then why have you been avoiding me? I whisper under my breath. I've been busy. I don't think I would have gotten much done with you near me. He smirks. I feel my breath hiss when his lips make contact between my neck and collarbone. See, Leone, not here. I gasp, but my words fly right past him when he pushes my back against the door of the bathroom, moving his kisses up to my jaw. Why not? Did you want to move to the bed? He says, and I feel my face burn red, quickly pushing him away. Let's just go back. I mutter. It's already suspicious enough that we were both gone. They probably thought Leone and I were doing stuff. I already told them we were busy. He says, and I nearly faint. That just makes it even more suspicious. Busy? I ask, crossing my hands over my chest. I watch as his eyes move down to my XS, and I nudge him hard, rolling my eyes. I'm taking you somewhere. He says, and I raise my eyebrow. Since when did he want to go somewhere with me voluntarily? And where would that be? I question. That's for you to find out later. He says, grabbing my hand. I look down at his hand clasped in mine, feeling my heart race just at the contact. What was wrong with me? I couldn't be starting to like him. But why did he make me feel so different? I wasn't like this around any other guy, but with Leone, it felt like my world was spinning out of control. We walk outside, and I feel goosebumps rise on my skin from the not very covering top I was wearing. The air was cold, and I could barely keep up with Leone's pace. How many cars do you even have? I say in shock, as I look at the blue Ferrari in front of my eyes. I would go show you, but we're going to be late. He says, opening the passenger side door for me. Can I get a hint? I ask as soon as Leone gets into the driver's side. Be patient. He says, grabbing something from the back. He hands me a dark gray hoodie, with the lettering saying Givenchy on it. Thanks? I mutter, taking the soft hoodie and pulling it over my head. It smelled like him, like his cologne. I might steal this, it's pretty comfortable. I say, the hoodie drowning me in fabric. We'll see about that. Leone says, turning his head to mine as he drove down the road, a small smirk covering his annoyingly good-looking face. How much longer until we get there? I ask, even though we've only been driving for 5 minutes. I was curious, and angry that he hadn't even given me at least one hint. You really aren't patient, are you? He laughs. Who knows, you could be taking me to a forest to murder me for all I know. I say jokingly. Don't give me ideas. He replies. I turn the radio on, changing the channel until I find a song I like. I feel myself turn red when every single channel I went on was playing some stupid love song. Never mind. I say, quickly turning the radio off and moving back into my seat. I could feel his eyes on me as I watched the scenery out of the window. You know you can connect your phone to the car and play music? He laughs at my frustration. I don't have one, genius. I say, noticing he wasn't going the speed of death this time compared to his usual driving. Leone hands his phone out to me, and my eyes widen at the gesture. Really? I squeal, taking the large phone in my hands carefully. I always used the home phone, but that was only for the calls I had to answer when my family wasn't home. It didn't really have other features other than that. Have you seriously never been on a phone before? He asks as I look at the phone in awe. There were so many things to do on it, it kind of overwhelmed me. How do you even get to the music? Not one like this. I say. I click on a random app, and a photo album shows up. The album had 23 pictures, the cover of the album being a photo of an older woman holding a kid in her arms. Can I look at your photo album? I ask. I was nosy, I know, but I couldn't help myself. Go ahead. He says, not caring at all, and I open the album. Is this you? I smile as I click on the first picture. It was another photo of the same kid, but this time the woman was standing next to Leone's father as well. I was assuming it was his mother, considering she looked a lot like him. The same dark hair and beautiful smile. "Yeah?" he just says, and I watch as he was looking down at the photo as well before moving his eyes back on the road, a sad glint in his eyes. Everyone knew about his mother's death. It was all over the news. She had won the title of Miss World and was a very famous actress. People were devastated hearing she had died from cancer after trying to fight it for years. Nearly half of Leone's pictures were of his mother and father, and I feel my heart warm at the love he had for his parents. "I'm sorry," I whisper, looking at Leone's large smile as he looked up at his mother. He looked about 9 in the picture. He was dressed top to bottom in designer even as a kid, and nearly all the pictures were in foreign countries. They must have traveled a lot. "It's fine, it already happened." He sighs and I purse my lips together. He seemed really close to his mother. Just from the pictures you could tell how much she loved Leone. I scroll to the next picture, a snort leaving my mouth at the picture of Matteo passed out dead on the floor, his hair a mess and drool leaving his mouth. I see Leone's smile from my peripheral vision. He must have seen the picture. "Can I use this as blackmail against him?" I ask jokingly. "Is it because of those weird books you read?" Leone's laughs and my face turns red as I scoff. "No. It was just a kiss, they never did anything more than that." I argue, holding his phone out back to him. "Put it in my front pocket, I can't take it, I'm driving." Leone says, a mischievous look in his eyes. "Keep dreaming," I say, placing the phone on his lap. We finally get to wherever Leone drove to, and I look out the window. We were in the middle of nowhere. "You really are going to murder me, aren't you?" I say as I get out of the car after Leone had opened my door. "Not yet," he jokes, and I roll my eyes as I feel the cold wind against my face. The sun was getting ready to set, and the sky was turning pink. It was cold but beautiful outside. I feel Leone's hand move over my eyes and I jump in my spot, shocked at the sudden touch. "No peeking," he says as we walk down some sort of trail. I could only hear the sounds of our shoes on the ground, and the loud chirps of the birds as they flew around us. We stop suddenly, Leone still standing behind me. His hand slowly moves off of my eyes, and I slowly blink open my eyes. I feel my eyes widen at what was in front of me, my head immediately turning to Leone, shocked. "No way!" I shriek, a large smile covering my face as I look at the large air balloon in front of us. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoy this story. I will post a new book every Friday. Chapter 6. Angelina. I feel my eyes widen at what was in front of me, my head immediately turning to Leone, shocked. "No way!" I shriek, a large smile covering my face as I look at the large air balloon in front of us. "Do you like it?" he says, and with no hesitation I jump into Leone's arms as I hug him for the first time. "Are you kidding me? I love it," I say, feeling his arms slowly move around me as he pulls me in closer for the hug. I could feel a smile on Leone's face while we hug, and I unwrap my arms around him, turning back to see the hot air balloon. No one had ever done something like this for me. I almost wanted to cry, but I hold it in as he helps me into the hot air balloon. My eyes look in awe as I watch us start to rise up in the sky. I look down as we go higher and higher, my hair blowing in the cool wind as I watch the world get smaller and smaller. "Look up," he says, moving next to me, and I move my eyes up, watching as the sun shone in my eyes as it set, the sky a fiery orange and pink. "It's beautiful," I say, turning my head towards Leone with a smile, my eyes in awe. "Let's take a picture." I smile as he looks down at me. I had never seen him look so at peace before. He usually always had an angry look in his eyes, but today his gaze was soft as he looked into my eyes. "A picture?" he says, taking out his phone, and I take it, going to the camera. "Yes, you're first one of us," I say as I hold the camera out, taking at least 3 pictures with the sun setting behind us. I feel my eyes widen when I notice how much higher we were, looking over a large lake. I move towards the edge, watching the water glisten in the sunlight. Wow! I whisper, looking out at the water. Say cheese. I hear Leone say next to me, and I turn my head. He holds the camera in front of my face, and I stick my tongue out to the camera as he takes a picture, a smirk on his face. I feel my heart start racing when I suddenly move closer to Leone, who was scrolling through the pictures he had just taken, and lean up, landing a short kiss on his lips. He looks up from his phone, his eyes dark as he looks down at me. Thank you. I say, but my words are cut short when he suddenly pulls me in for another kiss, this time more passionately as my hands wrap around his neck, his lips warming me up from the cold. I feel my stomach erupt with butterflies as his hands move under my hoodie, pulling me in closer. Leone, you aren't looking in the camera in any of these pictures. I laugh as I scroll through the photos, smiling. His eyes were on me in all of them, a soft gaze in his eyes. Did he like me? I look up at him, watching as his eyes are focused on the road as he drives. The sky was dark now, the city lighting up the darkness. I was distracted by the leaf in your hair. He jokes, and I roll my eyes as I look through the pictures. Leone pulls up to the house, and as soon as we're out of the car, a man in a black suit runs up to Leone holding a phone. Sir, it's Mr. Novikov, he wants to talk with you. He's been calling everyone's phones. He breathes out, holding out the phone to Leone. I freeze at the mention of my papa, looking up at Leone, who had taken the phone in his hand. Go inside, I'll be back soon. Leone says, and I nod my head, walking into the house. I didn't want to hear what my papa was going to say anyways. I take a shower, staying in the water longer than I usually do when I get distracted by my own thoughts. I wear my white underwear, leaving Leone's warm hoodie on, and I put fluffy socks on my feet. I tie my hair up into a bun, looking outside of the large window. My thoughts move to the kiss from earlier, and a small smile covers my face as my cheeks heat up. I hear a soft knock on the door, instantly knowing it was Adeline. I open the door and Adeline smiles up at me, holding a gift box out. Mr. Agosti asked me to bring this to you, she says, and I take the box, confused. Is he working? I ask as I look down at the neatly tied bow on the box. Yes, I believe so. Enjoy the gift, miss, Adeline says, and I thank her before she leaves the room. I untie the ribbon, removing the lid of the box. I gasp when I see the iPhone 14 Pro in a brand new box. He got me a phone? I unbox the phone, holding it in my hand gently as I look down at it. It was a silver color, and he had gotten me a case with a small smiley face on it. I notice a paper in the box and open it, smiling. He wrote his phone number on the paper. I set up the phone, adding his number to my phone and putting his name as Angry Man. The next morning I wake up tired after spending 3 hours last night on my phone, going through all the things I could do on it. I groan as I sit up, rubbing my eyes. I untie my hair, letting it fall past my shoulders. I'm about to get up, but my head snaps up when Leone suddenly walks out of the bathroom shirtless and his hair wet. I look at his toned abs, feeling my breath hitch. Still wearing my hoodie? Leone says, looking down at me amused. It's comfortable, I argue, shrugging my shoulders as I try to avoid my eyes from looking at his abs again before I got caught. I get up from the bed, walking into the bathroom as I grab my toothbrush and toothpaste. What did my papa say last night? I mutter, looking over at Leone, who is buttoning up his black dress shirt. He wants to talk to you. They're moving back to Russia in a couple of weeks, Leone says, as he finishes buttoning up the shirt. Moving back to Russia? My parents hadn't been there in years, why would they move back now? You don't have to talk to him if you don't want to, he says, walking up beside me. No, I want to talk to him, I say, making my decision. My relationship with my papa couldn't just change, especially after what my family had done to me, but I wanted to at least hear what he had to say, as much as it hurt me. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoy this story. I will post a new book every Friday. Chapter 7. Angelina. The next couple of days almost felt like they had flashed by. All I had been thinking about all week was meeting my father. Today was the day. I look at myself in the mirror, noticing how much I've changed since coming here. I looked healthier, my skin glowing, and there were no bruises or marks from beatings. I was dressed in a gray long sleeve and blue jeans with white Air Forces. We had agreed on talking during lunch in the gardens. Leone was gone for some business trip that I'm nearly sure was just illegal business, so he had to have Matteo watch over me, just in case anything happened. I didn't even get to say bye to him. Apparently, it was some emergency, and he had to leave immediately. Well, at least that's what Matteo said. I hear a knock on my door and sigh, knowing it would be time now. I walk over and open the door. Matteo stood there with a bright smile on his face, as if this would be some happy event. "You look happy today," I say, closing the door behind me as we walk down the hallway. "Of course I am. How could I not be so extremely thrilled to watch you and your dad talk for the next 3 hours?" Matteo says sarcastically. "I'm happy you're just as excited as I am," I joke, feeling my nerves rise as we get closer to the gardens. "Oh, come on, don't be so nervous. If anything goes wrong, I'm in the mood to kill today." Matteo shrugs, opening the door for me. I give him a fake smile, squinting my eyes as soon as I walk out. It was bright outside and the air smelt fresh. "He's not here," I mumble to myself as we walk down to the table, which was set with plates and drink glasses. How disappointing. I guess this means we unfortunately have to cancel. Matteo sighs, shaking his head, albeit the sound of excitement in his tone. "I don't get it, he's the one who wanted to talk," I mutter, sitting down in the seat. "Maybe he's just running a little late, I should wait," I say, checking the date on my phone just in case I might have gotten it mixed up when we were supposed to meet. "Fine, but if he doesn't come in the next hour, your second daddy is just a piece of worthless dust in your life," Matteo grumbles, crossing his arms over his chest as he leans against the door. "Second daddy?" I ask, looking up at him with my eyebrow raised in confusion. "Don't be so innocent. We all know you and Leone do some unthinkable things. So very sinful of you too," Matteo says, dramatically. "What? I do not call Leone daddy. What kind of weird thoughts do you keep in that small brain of yours?" I scoff, looking at him unbelievably. "Not as weird as those books you read." He smirks and I feel my face go red. "I told you 100 times it was just a kiss. You know what, I'm mad at you, don't talk to me." I breathe out, turning my head away from him as I look out at the garden. "Your husband wasn't wrong when he said you've gotten feisty." Matteo laughs, and I clench my teeth together. I had to keep myself from jumping him. Where was my papa anyways? I feel my anger from Matteo slowly fade away, as sadness just fills me. I had so much hope. I thought he'd talk to me for once like a real father would. 30 minutes had passed by, and my head instantly moves to the door when I hear it opening. I sigh in disappointment when it's just the food being brought out. I watch as they place the salmon, mashed potatoes, and vegetables down, my mouth watering at the smell. "Enjoy, Ms. Agosti," the man says, bowing his head as he turns to walk back inside. I look up as Matteo's shadow suddenly hovers over the table. "I'm hungry," Matteo says as he looks down at the food on the table, a pitiful look on his face. "That sounds like a you problem," I say, and watch as his expression turns annoyed. He lets out a breath, moving back to his spot on the wall. "Why do you want to talk to him so much, anyways? Isn't he a ex?" he says, and I shrug my shoulders, playing with my fingers underneath the table. "Some people are willing to change," I mutter, trying not to wreck the horrifying memories I had with him. 1 hour later. Isn't the cooking at this place just the best? Matteo says as he stuffs his face with the plate that was supposed to be my papa's. He hadn't come, so I figured I'd just eat lunch with Matteo. I'm about to respond when I get a notification on my phone. I quickly grab my phone, opening it to find it was from Leone. Angry man, how did it go? Me, he didn't show up, so I'm just eating with Matteo now. I jump when my phone suddenly starts ringing, a confused look on my face when it was Leone calling. I answer the phone, putting it up to my ear. Give the phone to Matteo. I hear his deep voice say through the call. Just by the sound of it, I felt my heartbeat start to quicken. Yeah. I say, slowly handing the phone over to Matteo. He looked at my hand weirdly, food still stuffed in his mouth, before grabbing the phone and putting it up to his ear. Hottest man alive speaking, how may I help you? He smirks, leaning back in his chair. I watch as his smirk slowly fades away, a nervous look in his face. I try to lean in to listen to the conversation, but Matteo just moves his hand on my face, pushing me away. I glare at him as he talks through the phone. Of course, I got it all under control, he says, handing the phone back to me. I grab it in my hand, sighing when I notice he hung up before I could say anything. He's busy, Matteo says, and I nod my head, putting the phone back in my pocket. Yeah, so busy he can only talk to you and not me, I say, watching a random bird fly over us. Well, on a good note, he was talking about you. Really? What did he say? I ask, sitting up from my chair. Something about if I ever try anything with you, I'd get my neck snapped, blah blah, can't touch you or he'll murder my family, you know the usual, he says casually as he downs a glass of wine. I sigh as I sit back in my seat. Do you know when he's coming back? I ask. Hopefully today, it's his 24th birthday after all. Matteo sighs as he gets up from his chair, patting his now full stomach. Today is his birthday? I say, dumbfounded. Leone didn't even make it seem like it was his birthday soon. Wow, you really are a terrible wife. Matteo laughs, and I punch him on the shoulder in annoyance. Ouchie, that hurt. He pouts, rubbing his arm. I roll my eyes, not falling for the act. What do I even get him? He already has everything, I say. Nearly everything he owned was undoubtedly worth billions, something a gift from me would never compare to. Well, you have two options here. You either give him something handmade or head. Either one he'd be extremely grateful for. He really had no filter. I think I'll stick with something handmade, I say, trying to think of things I could make. I hope I had enough time. Almost forgot, his father is holding Leone's birthday party at his house tomorrow night. Lots of important people attending, it'll be fun though. He winks, and I feel myself fall deeper into stress. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoy this story. I will post a new book every Friday. Chapter 8. Angelina. 1 1/2 cup sugar. I say to myself, as I read the ingredients through my phone. I decided I would make Leone cookies after a good hour of overthinking. It wasn't much, but I planned to decorate them as him. Hopefully my artistry doesn't fail me today. It was around 3, and I was hoping I had enough time before Leone came back, if he was even going to come back tonight. I finish up mixing all of the ingredients and place plastic wrap over the bowl of dough, letting it sit in the fridge for 30 minutes. I blow a piece of hair off of my face that was tied back in a messy bun. My eyes look over the horrifying mess I had made. There was flour everywhere you could think of, including my face. I had been in this stupid kitchen for hours by now, trying to not mess up the recipe. I wanted to make it perfect. If I was gifting him cookies, I should at least make them taste good. Ms. Agosti, are you sure you don't need help? One of the older maids named Elaine says, as she walks in looking at the mess I had made. She always had the kindest look on her face. It was comforting and made you feel at home in an odd way. I'm okay, Elaine, but thank you, I really do appreciate it. I smile as I wipe down the counters. It would have been much easier having her help, but that would just take away from it being a gift from me. I'm sure he's going to love the cookies, miss. She says, her smile reaching her eyes. Well, that's only if I don't mess them up. I sigh, looking down at my hands. He's going to love them, good or not. She says, holding my hands that I had nervously been playing with in her own comforting ones. I don't think he's that interested in me. I laugh. What was I even thinking with the cookies? He was a billionaire. Why would he care for some baked pieces of dough? I've worked here for more years than you've been alive, and never have I seen Mr. Agosti looking at any woman the way he looks at you. Elaine says, squeezing my hands before bowing her head and leaving the room. I stand in the kitchen, my eyebrows scrunched in confusion. The way he looks at me? Could it really be he liked me? I jump in surprise when my 30-minute timer goes off, and I quickly turn it off, taking the dough out of the fridge. Here comes the hard part, I say, glaring at the now-baked cookies in front of me with a piping bag in my hand filled with frosting. I needed 12 cookies to look good, and only 20 to work with, so I didn't have much room for messing up. I take a deep breath in and start frosting the cookie. Everything was going well, until I looked at how ugly the face was. I groan in frustration, moving the cookie to the side and starting a new one. 3 hours later. You know, you snore a lot. I groan as I move my head up from my nap on the counter, just to see Matteo eating one of the messed up cookies. What are you doing here? I sigh, rubbing my tired eyes. Who knew making cookies would be so stressful? It took a while, but I had managed to make 10 cookies, decorated as Leone's face. I had some for each of his very diverse emotions, angry and the rare smile, all placed in a box with a white ribbon on it. I have bad news for you, delicious cookies by the way. Matteo says, taking the last bite of the cookie he had stolen. Bad news? I ask, waiting for him to tell me what it is. Unfortunately, you're going to have to live without your husband's ex for another day, and I'll also unfortunately have to escort you to his birthday party. Matteo smirks. He's not going to come to his own birthday party? I ask. Where was he anyway? Was he hurt? Oh no, he is. His father would kill him if he didn't. He'll just be a little late. Matteo shrugs, getting up from the stool he was seated on. See you later then. He winks, walking out of the room. I sigh as I look down at the box of cookies, carefully holding it in my hands as I walk up to my room. I look down at my phone as I lay on the bed, trying to decide if I should text him or not. No, I couldn't, he must be busy. I bite my lip as I click his name on messages, before starting to type. Me, good night. I throw my phone on the bed as soon as I send the message, hiding under the comforter. I shouldn't have done that. I feel embarrassed already after he hasn't responded for 5 minutes, not daring to hold my phone. A scream leaves my mouth when I hear a notification, and I peek out of the comforter, looking at my lit-up phone that was at the end of the bed. I slowly reach over and look at the message with a large smile on my face, my heart racing even though it was just a simple response. Angry man, good night, Principessa. I wanted to tell him happy birthday, but decide to pretend on not knowing it's his birthday, and surprise him with his gift tomorrow night at the birthday party. Mr. Agosti's birthday parties are usually filled with the most important names in the country. We have to make sure you look excellent. Adeline says, as she scurries into the room with a handful of dresses. I was thinking, maybe I should go for a new style. I say as I look down at the pink, silver and light blue dresses. I didn't want to show up this time, nervous. The guests that were invited were all born lavished in money, and at both the engagement and wedding parties, their eyes burned with hatred as they gossiped about me. No wonder why it was so hard trying to be friends with any of them. After a couple minutes of searching, Adeline comes out with a beautiful sparkly black dress with gold heels. I look at the dress in awe, already knowing it's the one. My hair is straightened and pushed behind my ear. I was wearing gold hoops and a gold necklace, as well as a gold bracelet. I love it, thank you, Adeline. I say as I smile, pulling her into a hug. Of course, miss. I'm sure someone else will love it just as much as you do. She winks, a laugh leaving her mouth. I wish you could come with me. I sigh as I put the gold heels on. Sadly, I'd have to go with Matteo. Both of our heads move to the door at the same time when a loud knock suddenly sounds from the door, and I stand up, figuring it's Matteo. I open the door to Matteo dressed in an expensive white suit, a gold chain around his neck as he looked at me surprised. You don't look too bad. He shrugs, and I roll my eyes as I grab the box of cookies carefully in my hands. Do you think he'll like these? I say as I show him the cookies I made last night. Well, they did taste good, and the faces aren't too bad. He's definitely going to hate them, Matteo says as we walk out. You're not being very helpful. I groan as we get into the black car that would drive us to the house where Leone's father lived. Hey, you know what will really make him happy? He says. What? Saying happy birthday to him in Italian. He'd love that, and I can help you. He says, and I think about it for a second. Maybe saying happy birthday to Leone in Italian would make the gift I got him a little better, so I agree. Okay, here's how you say it. Hi, il piccolo caso, you have a small X. Hey, that's not too bad. I say, repeating it multiple times so I can make it sound right. Oh yeah, you're doing great, he's gonna love it, Matteo says with a large smile. We make it to the house and I watch as multiple people walk inside, dressed top to bottom in expensive dresses and suits. The car parks in front of the house, and Matteo opens the door for me, holding his hand out. I take his hand as we walk up the stairs and into the large mansion. Wow! I mutter under my breath as we walk inside. The place screamed money, and so did everyone who was walking around in it. The music was loud, and I look around the gold-decorated place, watching as multiple eyes landed on me. Here we go. Chapter 9. Angelina. Angelina, it's so nice to see my daughter-in-law again. Leone's father says loudly over the music, holding his arms out wide as he gives me a hug. Matteo had gone who knows where. You really did go all out for this party, Mr. Agosti. I laugh as I hug him back. Well, it would be nicer if my son were here. That bastard better get over here soon enough. He grumbles, typing on his phone angrily. I try holding in a laugh when Mr. Agosti notices a group of people wanting to talk to him, and he quickly turns around, walking in the opposite direction before telling me to enjoy the party. I walk over to the table filled with food, my mouth almost drooling at the sight. I didn't want to talk to any of the people here. Every time I smiled at them, they would smile back, then turn their heads and gossip just as fast. Enjoying yourself? I freeze as I'm about to eat some expensive-looking appetizer, when I hear Leone's deep voice behind me. I turn around, coming face to face with his stupidly handsome face, feeling my cheeks turn red. Why, you're here, I say. I wasn't expecting him to be here so soon. He was dressed in a black suit, his hair slightly messy and a small cut under his eye. What kind of business did he have to do anyways? I wouldn't be surprised if he had gone to murder a dozen people. You look beautiful, he says, looking down at me as his large hand cups my face. His eyes drop down to my lips, and I move my hand onto his arm, pushing him back slightly. There's people watching, I say, but he ignores me as he moves to stand closer to me. I feel butterflies in my stomach at his distance, being able to clearly smell his expensive cologne. What's that? He says, looking at the box in my hand, and I quickly move it behind my back. Nothing at all, I quickly say, a nervous tone in my voice. After I had seen all the gifts being brought in for Leone, my hopes for the cookies dropped immediately. There was no way these cookies could beat the other gifts. Is that my present? He smirks. Fine, it is. But it's not that important. I sigh as I slowly bring it forward. Leone takes the box in his hand and opens it, a laugh leaving his mouth as he looks at the cookies. Is this supposed to be me? He says, looking back up at me, amusement filling his dark eyes. I bite my lip nervously, nodding my head. Okay, now was time. I recite the words Matteo told me earlier in my head, before saying them out loud to Leone. Hi il piccolo caso, you have a small X, I say confidently, mentally jumping up and down in excitement when I realize I said it correctly, a smile on my face. I try to ignore Matteo, who was laughing so hard about something he spit out his drink on the floor. What did you just say? Leone says, looking at me like I was insane. My smile drops, confusion only on my face now. Did I say it wrong? Maybe I should say it again. Hi il piccolo caso, I say again, this time pronouncing the words more clearly. Why did Leone look so pissed? And what does that mean? He says. Isn't he Italian? Shouldn't he know this stuff? My pronunciation couldn't have been that bad. It means happy birthday, aren't you Italian? I sigh. Very. He says, turning around and setting a murderous gaze on Matteo as he walks straight towards him. As soon as Matteo sees Leone walking towards him, he drops his drink and sprints out of the house, pushing people out of his way as he laughs like a madman. What happened? I watch in confusion, looking down at the box of cookies in my hand. Well, at least he liked the cookies. As I'm getting a drink, my ears unconsciously tune into a group of women's conversation when I hear Leone's name. We used to F until he got engaged, now he doesn't want to have fun with me apparently. A tall redhead sighs as she inspects her nails. I feel angry knowing how many women he's probably slept with before, no wonder why he was so good when doing things. How did a girl like her get him wrapped around her finger anyways? Another woman snickers. This time she had dark brown hair and bright green eyes. Everyone here looked like models, too bad their personalities were so rotten. My daddy told me I would have gotten married to him if it weren't for the Novikovs making the deal first. Another woman rolls her eyes. I notice her glancing at me, and she straightens her back after noticing I could hear them. Shut up, and he would have never chosen you, my family has more money. At least I didn't have to pay my way to beauty. She scoffs as she takes a sip of champagne. Wow, they really were true friends. I jump in my spot when I feel someone's hand on my shoulder, only to come face to face with Matteo, who looked like he had just ran a marathon. Did I scare you? He laughs out of breath, and I push his shoulder away annoyed. No, you don't scare me. I scoff, ignoring him as I take another drink from the table. Hey, let me have some of that, I'm parched. He breathes, taking my water and chugging the entire glass down. I watch him dumbstruck as he puts the glass back down, letting out a refreshed breath. Why was he going after you anyways? I ask, and Matteo snorts. Well, maybe if you tell him happy birthday in Italian again he might tell you. Why can't you just tell me now? I ask, my eyebrow raised. Matteo just shrugs his shoulder. It's more fun that way. Annoying. Leone's behind you. I lied to scare him. An evil smile covers my face when he quickly moves his head around, walking towards a large group of people to hide in with no hesitation. I search my eyes around the place, landing them on Leone, who looked annoyed. His father was speaking to him, his hands in the air dramatically, as he yelled in Italian at him about something. Hey, you're Ms. Angelina Agosti, correct? I hear a soft voice behind me. I turn around and look at the tall woman with dark hair and hazel eyes who had her hand out for me to shake. She was dressed in a gorgeous dark blue dress with silver high heels. What is it with everyone here looking like models? Yes, that's me. I say, looking down at her manicured hand and shaking it. My name is Isabella, I've heard a lot about you. She smiles. You have? Well, there's not really much about me to hear from. I snort. The only things I can really rex were just embarrassing. I've heard plenty from the gossiping snakes in this room, although I'm sure most of what they say is just from jealousy. She says, rolling her eyes as she slowly points to the group of girls I had heard earlier. You know, you're the first person here I've met that isn't glaring at me with murder in their eyes. It seems like everyone has bad blood with me. I sigh as I cross my hands over my chest. I didn't know much about this Isabella girl, but she was nice, something most people here were lacking. Well, most of the girls here are practically clawing at each other's throats for entry into the Agosti family. It's typical they want to make each other seem bad. She shrugs as she grabs 2 glasses of wine from a butler. Drink? Isabella asks, holding the wine out to me. I take the wine, smiling as we clink the glass together. Here he comes. Isabella mutters, her eyes looking out in the distance. I scrunch my eyebrows together in confusion before moving my own eyes up. Matteo. Isabella, what are you doing here? He says as he looks between us, confused. His eyes look sad, something I'd never seen before in Matteo. I'm making friends, something you should do more often. She sighs as she slowly swirls the wine around in her glass. Can we talk? He asks, and she purses her lips, letting out a defeated sigh before setting her glass down. Let me get your number before I have to indulge in a long conversation with him. Isabella says, with a smile. We exchange numbers and they both walk off, somewhere outside. I wonder what connection they had with each other. It seemed like a relationship problem, but I didn't want to invade their privacy, so I try to ignore it. I freeze when I feel large hands wrap around my waist, pulling me back against a hard chest. I finally have you to myself again. Leone's deep voice sounds in my ear. I feel myself turn red at the position we were in, feeling people's hawk eyes on us. You forgot to take your gift. I mumble as I turn around in his arms so we're facing each other. Leone takes the box in his hand, a smirk on his face as he looks down again at the cookies. What you said earlier just shocked me. He says. What did I say? What do you mean? I ask, confused. You said I have a small X in Italian. He laughs, and I feel my eyes widen as my hand slowly moves to cover my mouth. Matteo, that X. He tricked me, oh my gosh. I whisper. I wanted to turn invisible right there, rexing I had not only said it once but twice. How could I be so gullible, thinking that meant happy birthday? My eyes turn into an eagle's as I turn around, looking at the crowd to find Matteo. I need to get revenge. I say, but stop when I feel Leone's hand on my arm, gently pulling me back. His eyes were dark as he looked down from my eyes to my lips. I haven't seen you in days, you're all mine from now on. He says deeply, and I look up at him, my lips parted as I try swallowing something that felt like a rock in my throat. What did he mean by that? And why was my heart racing so fast? Sharing is caring, you know. I laugh, trying to release some of the tension between us, as he pulls me closer, moving his mouth to my ear. I don't share love. He whispers, before moving away. Leone walks up to his father and whispers something before coming back up to me, a boyish smirk on his face. Looks like we're leaving early tonight. He says, walking towards the exit with the gift I got him still in his hand. I scrunch my eyebrows together as I follow behind him, looking back at his father, trying to figure out what he even said to him. Leone, are you insane? Shouldn't you be at your own birthday party? I say when we get outside. Not if there's an emergency. He says, walking up to his black Bugatti. Emergency? No one's dying here. My words completely stop leaving my mouth when he pushes me against the car door, leaning in extremely close to my face. Do you know how hard it was for me? Being away from you for that long? If that's not dying, I don't know what is. He says, his eyes looking down at my lips once more before leaning in and kissing me. I feel butterflies erupt in my stomach at the touch, his large hands moving into my hair as he pushes me closer. Leone? I gasp when his kisses become more passionate, his tongue forcing entry into my mouth. Leone pulls away, his hand holding my cheek as he looks into my eyes, my lips swollen from the kiss. I think I've fallen for you, Principessa. He says, and just those words made my heart feel like it was racing out of my chest. Leone Agosti, the Italian Mafia leader falling for me after everyone he could have chosen from. It felt like a fever dream, but I couldn't deny my own feelings any longer either. Chapter 10. Angelina. I think I've fallen for you, Principessa. He says, and just those words made my heart feel like it was racing out of my chest. Leone Agosti, the Italian Mafia leader falling for me after everyone he could have chosen from. It felt like a fever dream, but I couldn't deny my own feelings any longer either. I look up at him, my cheeks rosy from the cold wind hitting against it. I couldn't even put what I wanted to tell him into words, so instead, I lean up, my hands on both his shoulders as I move my lips back onto his own. Never in my life would I have expected this. To have my heart stolen from a man who everyone talked of having the coldest heart. They just didn't know him, because I saw how much he cared for his parents, how much he protects the men in his mafia, how much he protects me. I think I've fallen for you too. I whisper in between breaths, as I pull away from his lips. My heart was racing as I watch him look down at me, a dangerous look in his eyes as he searched my own. Cazzo, you drive me effing crazy. He says, pushing away from the car and running a hand through his dark hair. I release a breath as I move off of the car, noticing there were multiple people outside now. Did they see anything? I flush red, hoping no one had seen anything. Let's go. Leone says, opening the door for me before getting in himself. The car makes a loud noise as it turns on, getting the attention of everyone outside as they watched Leone speed out of the driveway. My fingers tangle with each other as I glance over at Leone, his eyes focused on the road. The moonlight hit his face perfectly, his jaw clenched as he sped down the road. I quickly look away when his head turns to me, pretending I was looking out at the window. My breath hitches when I suddenly feel his large hand holding onto my bare upper thigh where my dress had a slit. I look down at his hand and back up to him. He was just driving like he hadn't done anything. I try to control my heart nearly racing out of my chest, but fail when his thumb moves in circles around my thigh, causing my cheeks to burn red. We pull into the house and Leone gets out, slamming his door shut. I sit in the car, trying to calm myself down before getting out, but my door suddenly opens. Leone had one hand on the door as he waited for me to get out. I clear my throat, quickly moving to unbuckle my seatbelt. Once I'm out, he shuts the door and turns around, walking into the house. I look at his back as he walks into the house, confused. What was up with him? Why are you walking so fast? I groan as I try to catch up with his long strides. The hallways were dark and silent. It was late, so most of the maids were probably asleep now. Leone, my words are cut off when I'm suddenly slammed against the wall, my breaths fast as I look up at him through my lashes. I won't stop once I start. He says, his hand on my jaw as he moves my face towards him gently. The hallways were so silent I'm sure he could hear how fast my heart was pounding right now, our bodies holding barely any distance between them. What? I say, and he moves off of the wall, walking into the room. I put my hand on my chest, trying to calm myself down. I walk into the room and notice he's on his phone, sitting on a chair. I try to avoid his eyes on me as I walk into the closet, wanting to take off the dress and change into comfortable clothes. My hand reaches to the back of my dress to unzip it, but I fail when I can't reach the stupid zipper. I got it. I hear his deep voice say. I freeze when I feel Leone behind me, his hand gently unzipping the dress until it can't move any farther down. I knew what would happen if I turned around, so I do. Was I nervous? Of course I was. But all I knew was that I wanted him bad. The straps of my dress moved down my shoulder on their own from my dress being unzipped, Leone's eyes moving down to my now exposed white lace bra. I want you. I whisper, his eyes dangerously burning into my own as they fill with lust. That's all it takes for him to move his lips onto mine, his hand on my lower back as his kiss becomes more passionate. My hands tangle in Leone's thick hair as his tongue enters my mouth, a X leaving me as his kisses move down my jaw and between my XS. The dress completely slides off of me, and Leone's lips leave my body as he looks down at my now exposed body. I was only in my white bra and panties. Kazo. He mutters under his breath, and I feel my cheeks turn red. A gasp leaves my mouth when he pushes me against the bed, my back landing on the soft comforter as I look up at him. What does that mean? You say it a lot. I breath out, feeling myself go hot as he unbuttons his dress shirt, exposing his toned body. It means F. He smirks, leaning over me as he places a kiss on my forehead before looking into my eyes. Are you sure? He asks, and I nod my head, looking down at his lips that I wanted on me again. His lips move back on me, and I feel a X leave my mouth as his hand leaves a burning trail over my exposed skin, cupping my X in his hand while his other hand easily unclips my bra. His kisses move onto my X and down my sensitive stomach. I feel my back arch at his kisses as he moves down lower. Leone? I X, my hands tangling in his hair as he leaves a kiss on my lower region over my panties. He looks at me through his lashes, a smirk on his perfect face. I gasp when he kisses between my thighs, his fingers moving under my panties before moving the thin lace off of me. I felt hot everywhere, my heart racing out of control. His fingers enter me, moving in and out, making me X in X. His pace moves faster and I feel myself about to reach, until he moves his fingers out. Not yet? He says as I try to catch my breath, my lower region wet from his touch. The room was dark, but I could still make out the silhouette of his face. I watch him as he unzips his pants, leaving him only in black boxers. I feel my mouth go dry when he pulls his boxers down. Were they all that big? How is that going to fit? I say nervously, looking back up at Leone. I won't hurt you, Principessa. It might be a little uncomfortable at first. He says, leaning down to place a kiss on my nose before taking out a condom from the nightstand. My hand grips the silk sheets on the bed, a gasp leaving my mouth when I feel him slowly move inside of me. I feel tears brim at the edge of my eyes at the new feeling. He moves more into me until he's all the way in, making sure I'm okay before going any further. My hands grab onto Leone's back when he suddenly starts slowly thrusting inside of me, a X leaving my mouth at the foreign feeling that had turned from being painful to pleasurable. F. Angelina. Leone groans as he moves faster inside of me. Every time he pushed into me, I felt X I'd never experienced before. He thrusts harder, my nails digging into his back as I feel myself about to reach an X. Leone, I'm almost. I X louder when he moves even faster inside of me before I reach my climax. I don't know if I was just really X, but the rest of the night that's all we were doing. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoy this story. I will post a new book every Friday. Chapter 11. Angelina. I wake up the next morning, my body sore. I turn to the side, my brows scrunched when I realize Leone was gone. I'm right here, Principessa. I hear his husky voice say, and I turn my head to find him walking out of the bathroom, his hair wet. He wasn't wearing a shirt, only black sweatpants. I quickly cover the top of my body with the comforter, watching as he leans over me, kissing my cheek. Don't be shy, I've already seen everything. He smirks and I burn red at his words. Did I make you late to work? I mutter, realizing it was almost noon. They'll survive without me for a couple hours. Leone says, as he pulls on a black button-up. I sigh, noticing the glass of water on the nightstand next to me. I reach over, grabbing the glass and downing the cool water. Are you sore? He suddenly says, and I nearly choke on my water. I nod my head, flustered. Rest in bed today, I'll be back later. He says, moving his hand behind my head and leaning me forward as he kisses my forehead before he walks out of the room. A smile covers my face after he leaves. My body fills with happiness as I wrap the blanket around myself, thinking about what happened last night. Calm yourself, Angelina. I tell myself, snapping out of it as I get up, wincing at the pain as I walk to the bathroom so I can shower and brush my teeth. I get out of the bathroom, dressed in black leggings and a white crop tank top. I had already blow-dried my hair and put on light makeup. "Miss, I brought your breakfast and brought you new sheets," Adeline says, a glint of amusement in her eyes as I walk back into the room. "Ah, thank you, I was starving." I groan as I sit down, starting to eat the warm food. "Want to eat with me?" I ask Adeline as I take a bite of a chocolate croissant. "Miss, I can't." "Come on, Adeline, you're my only friend here. No one's going to say anything." I laugh, patting the spot next to me. Adeline smiles, carefully sitting down next to me. I hand a croissant to her and she takes it, slowly eating the pastry. "When you say you can't, is it because of the other maids finding out, or because Leone will do something?" I ask curiously as I look at her. "It's not that, we're just not used to anyone treating us like normal people. Usually all the people we take care of just see us as dirt." Adeline sighs as she eats a bowl of fruits. "Well, you can act like yourself around me, we're friends." I smile, throwing a blueberry at her. "Hey, that was the good one. Throw the pineapples, those are nasty." Adeline giggles as she throws a piece of pineapple at me. She fails when I end up catching it in my mouth, and I nearly choke on my own laughter. "How did you do that, miss?" Adeline laughs, and I shrug my shoulders, shocked at my own actions. "Just call me Angelina from now on," I say, my stomach hurting from all the laughing as I lay back on the bed, my hair sprawled over the freshly washed comforter. My head turns to the side when I get a notification from my phone. "Isabella, hey, mall today?" "Me, can my friend Adeline come with?" "Isabella, OFC, I'll be there in 10, I just need to find my car keys." "Hey Adeline, did you have anything important to do today?" I ask, as I look over at her from my phone. "Just the normal duties, why?" she asks. "We're going to the mall." I smile and watch as her eyes sparkle just for me saying mall. It would be okay not telling Leone, right? Hopefully he wouldn't get mad. "Really? I can come with you?" she says, and I nod my head, grabbing her arm and going into the closet so we could pick out outfits. After a while, Adeline and I finally pick out our outfits. I end up wearing a mini denim skirt with a green top and white sneakers. Adeline picked out a white top and ripped denim jeans. "We look hot," I say as Adeline finishes her makeup, her hair untied from how it usually is. She had long golden hair that went down her back. I hear a knock on the door and walk up to the door, opening it to Isabella. She was dressed in black sunglasses, a black corset, and straight-leg denim jeans. I'm ready to break my dad's bank account, a lot has happened. Isabella sighs as she takes off her sunglasses, walking into the room. "Oh hey, my name is Isabella," she says, noticing Adeline, who was shyly standing to the side. "I'm Adeline." She smiles. "So what mall are we going to?" I ask, grabbing my purse after the introductions as all three of us walk out of the bedroom. "The bougie one next to this mansion, duh," Isabella says. "The one Leone owns?" I say, and watch as both Adeline and Isabella look at me shocked. "He owns that place? How many drug deals do they do?" Isabella says. "I heard he sells people he doesn't like for money, but that might have just been a rumor." Adeline says. "I'm sure he'd rather murder someone than sell them." I snort, and all three of us freeze when Matteo suddenly walks into the hallway, his gaze immediately setting on Isabella. "What are you doing here?" he asks, looking at all three of us. "Going to the mall, don't you have something better to do?" Isabella sighs, crossing her arms over her chest. I notice Adeline looking at Matteo when I turn to the side, a blush creeping up on her face. "Who is she?" Matteo asks, moving his gaze towards Adeline, who looks shocked as she looks away from him. "Matteo, stop being so rude. She works here, how do you not know Adeline?" Isabella says, rolling her eyes at Matteo. I watch in amusement when I realize Adeline likes Matteo. Isn't she gorgeous, Matteo? I ask him, after noticing his eyes on her a little longer than a usual glance. Matteo gets pulled out of his gaze, and he clears his throat, walking past us with his hands in his pockets. Oh, he totally thought you were cute. I giggle. No, he doesn't. I freeze when I realize both Isabella and Adeline had said that at the same time, and I look between both of them. Awkward. I'm sorry, I don't like him or anything to get that clear. He's my ex, nothing more. You guys would be cute together, Isabella says to Adeline. So that's why Matteo looked so sad when he saw Isabella last night. I wonder what made them break up. I don't exactly have a chance with someone like him anyways. She sighs. Adeline, did you see the way he looked at you? He obviously thought you were hot. Isabella shrugs, applying clear lip gloss on her lips as we walk outside. Yeah, but Adeline and I both freeze, my mouth nearly dropped to the floor as we look at her pink Ferrari parked outside of the house. Everyone, meet Penelope, Isabella says, unlocking the car before getting in, a smile on her face. I can't believe Mr. Agosti owns this place, Adeline says as we walk through some expensive store. I was just as shocked as you are. I sigh, nearly fainting when I see the price of a purse at $25,000. Aren't you getting anything? Isn't Leone loaded? Isabella says, as she walks up to me, looking at the purse as she sips her Starbucks. He doesn't even know I'm here. I laugh, hoping I don't end up getting caught. That's not going to end well, Adeline says, trying to hold in a laugh. I have an idea, let's all get new bikinis on me. I'm hosting my annual pool party tomorrow at my place. You two are invited, of course, Isabella says, as we walk out of the store. A pool party? I could go swimming for the first time. Adeline, we could totally get you to seduce Matteo with this, Isabella says, as she holds up a red bikini set in front of Adeline. Adeline burns red as Isabella puts the bikini in her hands, winking. Adeline ends up getting the red set, and Isabella gets a black one, the top a halter style. I chose a white bikini with the top as a triangle shape, and strings that wrapped around your waist. The bottom was not exactly covering in any way, but it was cute. So, is it true that Leone is good at it? Isabella says, as we walk out of the mall after 4 hours of shopping. What? I say, shocked by the direct question. You guys haven't done it yet? Isabella asks, both of them looking at me as they wait for me to answer. Last night was the first time. I mumble, both Adeline and Isabella squealing as soon as those words leave my mouth. The excitement doesn't last long though when something happens next. Angelina, I'm not sure if this is good news or bad news, Adeline whispers, looking out in the distance. I look at her confused, wondering why they both stopped walking. I look up, my eyes making contact with Leone, who is leaning against his black Bugatti, looking at me with anger burning in his dark eyes. Oops. Chapter 12. Angelina. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully Leone even lets me go, I say, knowing he's already mad at me. He'll definitely let you go. Leone goes every year with Matteo, Isabella says as she opens her car door, a smile on her face as they both wave by. I wave back before hesitantly turning around, being faced with Leone's angry death stare once more. I walk up with a smile, hoping that makes him less angry. What were you doing? Why didn't you tell me where you were going? Leone says as I walk up to him, my shopping bag in my hand. His eyes move up and down my body, ending back up at my face. I didn't want to disturb you, I say, making an excuse. What if someone hurt you? Do you know how easy you are to just take? He says, moving off of the car and walking straight up to me. His tall frame towers over me as he looks down at me, his dark hair slightly messy. I roll my eyes, crossing my hands over my chest. That's a little dramatic, isn't it? I say, and he raises a challenging brow at me. I shriek when Leone suddenly picks me up. He throws me over his shoulder easily, his hand on my lower back. Leone, put me down. I yell, as he walks over to the passenger side of the car, putting me down. See how easy that was? He says, opening the door for me. I look up at him with a glare before I get in the car. I mutter under my breath. Right now in the car? He smirks as he gets into the driver's side, and I feel myself go red. I didn't mean for him to hear that, or take it that way. That's not what I meant. I ramble, nervously putting my seatbelt on. The loud engine of the car sounds through the parking lot, as Leone speeds back into the road. Are you and Isabella friends? Leone asks, turning to me before moving his eyes back on the road. Do you know her? I ask curiously. Leone shrugs, and I scrunch my brows together. What was that supposed to mean? He notices my confused face, and grabs my hand that was rested on my lap, moving his fingers in between my own. He was Matteo's girlfriend. I never really talked to her. He says. I wasn't thinking anything else. I mumble, looking down at our hands clasped together, my stomach filling with butterflies. I never said that. He smirks, and I nearly curse myself. Now he probably thinks I was jealous. I'm going to her pool party tomorrow. I say, trying to switch subjects. You mean the party every man goes to look at X and F? Hell no. He says lowly. I feel my stomach drop when I realize what Isabella had said earlier, how Leone went there every year. Was he doing the same thing? I didn't ask if I could go or not. I'm pretty sure I can make that decision myself. I mumble, not wanting to even talk to him at all. I don't even know why I was surprised. I notice his jaw clenching from my peripheral vision, but I ignore him as I turn my head towards the window, looking out at the view. I'm coming with you then, he says after a couple minutes of silence. Don't you already go every year to look at X and F? I scoff. I know it was petty, but I hated the feeling in the pit of my stomach reminding me of how many other women he's been with. Leone looks over at me, but I ignore his gaze, looking out ahead of me. I gasp when he suddenly stops the car on the side of some random road, running a frustrated hand through his hair. Are you crazy? I say, looking outside to see he had just stopped in the middle of nowhere. What's up with you today? He says, turning to me. What's up with me? Sorry, I'm not jumping in excitement that you go to pool parties every year to go F. I laugh, refusing to even look over at his eyes that were nearly burning into the side of my head. Leone doesn't say anything as he just takes the car out of park and moves back onto the road, his hand gripped tightly on the steering wheel and his jaw clenched. I just wanted to be out of the car, away from him. The car was silent the entire ride, as I tried to keep my eyes from watering. As soon as the car stops, I unbuckle my seatbelt, his eyes on me. Angelina, but I was already out of the car, walking towards the door. What would he say anyways? Last night Leone didn't come to the room. Adeline told me, while we were getting ready for the pool party, that she had heard him interrogating a man in the Spanish Mafia last night. And by interrogating, most likely murdering. We had somehow gotten Matteo to take us later. I didn't want to be in the same car as Leone, and Adeline would rather be in Matteo's car, since she was terrified of Leone, so it was a win for both of us. I should have bought a cover-up. I say to Adeline, as I look through my closet with a sigh. I didn't exactly want to walk down with my bikini on in a house filled with Mafia men. Why don't you just wear this? Adeline says, pointing at Leone's white button-ups. That's Leone's, I can't wear that. I say, walking over to where Adeline was standing. He probably won't even notice it's gone, he has like 30 of them. Adeline says, and I look at the button-up, trying to decide if it was a good idea or not. Especially since I was pissed at him. I'll just wear it then. I say, ignoring all of my thoughts. I pull my sleeves through the shirt, buttoning it up halfway. The shirt went to my mid-thigh. It smelled like him, like his cologne. We finally finished getting ready. I had my bikini and button-up on. I left my long hair down for now. Leone is going to kill me, Matteo says as we walk downstairs. Adeline and Matteo had been glancing at each other the entire time we were walking. He probably doesn't even know we're going now, I say as we walk outside. The sun nearly blinds me as we walk towards Matteo's red sports car. The ride to Isabella's house wasn't long, only 25 minutes. Adeline and I look in awe at the huge house before us when we arrive. I had already taken the button-up off, holding it in my hand. Every car that was parked to go to the party was expensive, including how everyone who came in them were all loaded. As soon as we walk outside towards her pool, the loud music and conversations can be heard. So this is how rich people party, Adeline says, looking amazed at the hundreds of people spread around Isabella's huge pool and backyard. There were multiple butlers handing out drinks non-stop, and all the girls wore expensive-looking bikinis as they went around flirting with the guys who looked just as interested. This is insane, I say, looking around the place. I turn back towards Adeline, but end up just seeing Matteo leaning towards her and whispering something in her ear, causing her to go red. I put my thumb up to Adeline with a smile, telling her to go when she looked over at me. Angelina, over here. I hear a familiar voice and smile when I see Isabella. She was raising her glass of champagne towards me as she stood with two other women. Where did Adeline go? Isabella says as I walk up. She got a little distracted. I laugh as I turn my head over to where Matteo and Adeline were making out, to point to where they were. Oh? Isabella says before clearing her throat, plastering a smile back on her face. Angelina, these are my friends Claire and Layla. Ladies, this is Angelina, my friend I told you about. Isabella introduces. You came just in time, we were about to go down to the pool. Ethan Hernandez and all his friends are down there, and I can't let Hilary Vez take him before I do. Layla sighs. She had medium-length blonde hair and was wearing a teal-colored bikini. Plus we can go flirt with all his friends, all of them are hot. Claire shrieks in excitement. She had darker blonde hair that was a little longer than Lila's and wore a hot pink bikini. Well, Angelina already has a husband that would murder her if she tried flirting with anyone. Isabella giggles. Yeah, I can be a good wingman though. I laugh. Both of the girls look at me curiously after Isabella says I have a husband. You have a husband? You look too young to be married. Layla frowns. Oh, who cares about that, what matters is who is he. Claire says, as we all sit on tanning chairs by the pool. I feel hesitant to answer, scared they'd hate me too if they knew he was an Agosti. He's no one special. Just someone I don't even have any more words leaving my mouth when all the girls' eyes, including mine, land on Leone. He was walking down, wearing white Versace swim shorts and black sunglasses. I watch as multiple beautiful women walk up to talk to him, much more beautiful than I was. I quickly look away when he makes eye contact with me. Isabella looks at me, a confused look on her face as she looks at me. Of course Hilary Vez is trying to take him too. Claire scowls, crossing her arms over her chest. Hilary has no chance with Leone Agosti, she's practically a peasant compared to him. Layla argues, also watching. What's so nice about him anyways? I mumble under my breath as I lay back on the chair, letting the sun hit my skin as I close my eyes. He's hot, rich, and has a big X, Layla shrugs and all three of us turn to her. How would you know he has a big X, Layla? Isabella says from her chair, shocked. It was just once. Layla shrugs, giggling. I turn my head back towards the sky, hoping the sun melts me alive. Of course she effed him too. Apparently, everyone here has. Layla, you must have been good, because why is he walking towards us? Claire says, and my eyes suddenly open. Oh no, I couldn't let Claire and Layla know he was the same husband I told them was no one special. I wanted to turn invisible, but obviously that wouldn't happen, so instead I make an excuse. Hey guys, I'm going to go pee. I say quickly, begging Isabella with my eyes to just go with it. Thankfully she does as she nods her head, a small smile on her face. I get off the tanning chair, not daring to make eye contact with Leone as I walk towards the bathroom that was past the outdoor bar. I shriek when I suddenly bump into someone, looking up to see a man in his late 20s looking down at me through his sunglasses with a drink in his hand. Sorry, I didn't see you there. I say, about to walk away, but he grabs my hand, moving his sunglasses down to look at me. What's your name, gorgeous? I don't think I've seen you around here before, he says, smiling at me. I try pulling my hand out of his grasp, failing when he tightens his grip. Let go of me. I snap back, smelling the alcohol off of him. Get the F off of her. I hear a familiar deep voice say. Leone. Chapter 13. Angelina. Get the F off of her. I hear a familiar deep voice say. Leone. The man's face drops pale when he notices Leone. His hands move up in defeat, quickly turning around to walk away. I don't even bother to turn around, as I'm about to keep walking forward. I fail when Leone's hand wraps around my waist, pulling me back into his chest. Why do you keep avoiding me? He asks, his voice low. I could already feel the murderous eyes of all the women on me. So much for trying to avoid him. What do you want? I scowl, ignoring his question as I try getting out of his arms. Would you just listen to me for a second? He glowers, turning me around so I was now facing him. Why? So you can point out every woman here you've slept with? I say, looking up at his face. It felt like I hadn't seen him in so long, even though it's only been a day. You know I don't do that anymore, Angelina. Ever since I met you, I haven't touched or looked at any other woman the way I look at you, capisci? He says, looking down at me, his eyes dangerous. I look away from him, but his hand moves to my jaw and forces me to face him again. Do you understand, Principessa? He says, and I nod my head, feeling my face go red as he kisses my forehead. Everyone's watching us. I mumble, looking up at him. Should we go to a room then? He says mischievously, and I push his chest away as he smirks. I freeze when I see Claire and Layla at the bar, their jaws dropped as they look in between us. Layla gives me the dirtiest look before they both walk away. Well, that worked out terribly. I only then realize I had left my phone next to the pool by the tanning chairs. That's what I forgot. I say to myself. What is it? Leone asks, putting his sunglasses on me. Only then did I notice his initials engraved on the side of them. First the gun and now the sunglasses. He really did love his initials. I forgot my phone by the pool. I say, fixing the sunglasses on my face. You must have been too distracted looking at me. Leone says, and I roll my eyes as we walk back down to where the pool was. It seemed as if the guests had doubled by now, which meant even more stairs. It had also gotten a little darker outside, which meant it'd be harder to find. Leone went to look on one side of the pool, as I looked at a different side so we could find it quicker. Angelina, is this your phone? I hear a voice, and look up to find Layla holding my phone in her hand by the pool. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, I thought it was gone forever. I say as I walk up to her, about to take the phone she had held out. I watch as she drops the phone in the water before I can even reach it, on purpose. The phone starts sinking lower and lower in the water. Oops, how clumsy of me. Sorry about that. She frowns. A crowd forms around us, watching the scene before them, but I just ignore her, kneeling down to try to reach for the phone. Damn, kneel down like that for me. I hear a man laugh, and I freeze trying to get the phone, just letting it sink further. Everyone starts to laugh, and I feel my eyes water, trying my best to ignore their disgusting words. I watch the phone sink too far for me to grab anymore, my watery eyes moving up to Lila's. Why? I can barely say, my voice shaky. Are you that poor you can't buy a new one? Isn't that pathetic? Layla scoffs as she ignores my question. Look at that, even her husband doesn't like her. Claire pouts, and I look over to where everyone was staring. I feel my stomach drop when I see Isabella's lips on Leone's. What's going on? Leave her alone. I hear Adeline's voice scream, but everything suddenly sounds muffled when I'm pushed into the water. I can't swim. Before I sink any further, Adeline pushes through the crowd, jumping into the water and holding me up. It's okay, Angelina, ignore them, okay? I got you, she says, pulling me out of the water. I choke out some water, feeling tears burn my cheeks. Did they all think this was funny? Bringing someone down for their own entertainment? And Leone, how could he? He told me he liked me. He told me he doesn't do that anymore, and with Isabella? I thought we were friends. Adeline, they humiliated me. I sob as she wraps a towel around me, and we walk away from the pool. It's okay, Angelina, they're just jealous, okay? She says, but I shake my head no, my hands shaking. What did I do? I don't get it. I cry, moving my head onto her shoulder. Was this Isabella's plan all along? I heard what happened, is she okay? I hear Matteo's voice walking up. Adeline shakes her head no. Hey, we're going to take you back, okay? Hang in there, Matteo says, looking into my eyes. All three of our heads turn when screams start coming from the large crowd. Matteo says before running into the crowd. Adeline and I look at each other confused, before moving closer to see what was going on. Neil. Leone's deep voice booms to the man who had said those nasty words earlier. His gun was pointed at the man's head, and he sobs as he moves on his knees, his hands up. Please, I'm sorry, it was just a okay man. He cries. Leone kneels down face level with the man, a murderous look in his eyes. One more word out of your effing mouth and I'll shoot your brains out, bene? He says. The man is about to open his mouth, but Leone lands a hard punch straight at his face. My eyes widen when I see Layla, Claire, and Isabella also being held by two of Leone's men, as they stood terrified. I'll make sure to personally tell all your fathers why they've suddenly gone bankrupt, he says to them before shooting through each of their phones. Looks like you won't have any money to pay for a new one, bummer, he says before kicking all three phones in the pool. My parents aren't in any debt, they can't go bankrupt. Claire cries. You'd be surprised what your lovely parents do behind your back, sweetheart, he says before all three of them scream as they get thrown into the pool. Let's go, Adeline says, and I nod my head as she continues taking me towards Matteo's car. He was kissing Isabella, why was he helping me? I ask Adeline. No, Leone saw everything. That traitor Isabella was trying to distract him the entire time, and jumped on him as soon as you looked over, Adeline says, handing me Leone's button-up I'd used as a cover-up. Thank you. I sniffle as I pull it on, buttoning the shirt halfway. Hey, Leone is walking up to you. I'll see you later, okay? She says, and I look around confused until my eyes land on Leone. You? I gasp when he suddenly picks me up bridal style, walking out of the backyard and towards his car. I can never leave your side, huh? Leone smirks as he opens my door. Before he lets go of me, I move myself to hug him, my arms around his neck. Thank you, I say, my heart racing when his hand moves around my waist, hugging me back. I pull back from the hug, landing a short kiss on his lips. My face turns red as he looks down at me amused. Do that again, I think I blinked, he says, and I laugh as I shake my head no, getting down from the hug as I get into the passenger seat. Chapter 14. Angelina. So, what were you and Matteo doing all last night? I ask Adeline curiously as I lay on the bed, biting into an apple. I'm not sure, Adeline sighs, sitting down next to me. I scrunch my brows together. Last night they seemed fine. What happened? Why? Did it not go well? I ask. Well, we both agreed we didn't want a relationship, she says, and I look at her shocked. I really thought they would get in a relationship with the way they were looking at each other. But we did have sex, she says, and I pause the big bite I was just going to take on my apple. Did you guys sneak inside the house then? I say, still trying to process this. It was weird to think about, mainly because I just saw Matteo as an annoying brother. No, it was in the back of his car. She laughs nervously, her face turning bright red. No wonder you guys disappeared at some point, I say to myself, putting the pieces together now. They had been making out at some point, then just disappeared. Well, I have to go back to work. I'll talk to you later. Adeline sighs as she looks at the time. I nod my head, saying bye before she walks out. It was boring around the house while Leone was working. Sometimes I'd see him around the house, since most of the men worked here, but usually I wasn't allowed to go where he was working. I walk into the library, since I had nothing better to do. I was surprised Leone even had a library in the house. I don't think I've ever seen him read a book. I scroll through the books, trying to find one that catches my eye before landing on one. I stand on my toes as I try reaching for it, sighing in relief as my fingers barely even graze the binding. At least I was getting closer. I gasp when I feel someone behind me, and a large hand grabs the book I wanted. I turn around confused until I realize it's Matteo. He had a sly smirk on his face as he read the book title. You with the freaky books again? He says, and I roll my eyes, crossing my hands over my chest. Give it back, I found it first, I say, reaching my hand out for him to give it back. Why would I do that? I think I might read this, he says, flipping through the pages. Matteo, don't make me strangle you again, I say, gritting my teeth together as he laughs at me. I flinch as he moves the book into my hands all of a sudden. I came here because I wanted to tell you something, he says, walking closer to me. I scrunch my brows together, holding the book close to my chest as I look up at him. What do you want to tell me? I say, confused at why he was moving so close. I like you, Angelina, he says, looking down at me, and I widen my eyes at the sudden confession. Matteo, I like Con, he cuts me off before I can even finish. I know, don't say it to my face, will you? I just wanted to let it out. I'm not here to sabotage your relationship. He shrugs and I purse my lips, wondering why he even liked me. I watch in confusion as he suddenly bursts out laughing. You really believed me? Are you insane? He laughs and I scoff in disbelief. Did I just get pranked? I'm just here to give you this. Leone got you a new one, Matteo says as he hands out a new phone to me. I slowly take the box, noticing it's the same color as Leone's. He got me another one? I say, looking in awe at the phone. How did he get another one so quickly? Yeah, now enjoy your books, Matteo says before walking away. I wanted to go see Leone, but I knew he was too busy sadly to hang out with me. So instead I read my book for a couple hours. I nearly fall asleep at one point. Getting up from my comfortable position on the large couch, I rub my eyes, putting the book back in its original spot. Maybe Leone was finished by now. Adeline had texted me, he just got back from a meeting and was in his office now. My legs take me to his office door as I stand outside of it. I wanted to knock, but didn't want him to think I was being clingy. Should I just make an excuse? Sighing, I just knock on the door, peeking my head through. I feel my heart race when I see him at his desk, smiling at his phone. I wonder what was making him smile like that. Was it another girl? Leone? I ask, walking into the office. His head moves up as his eyes move to mine, looking me up and down. I was wearing an oversized gray t-shirt with tight shorts under. What are you doing here? Is everything all right? he asks, his tall frame getting up and walking towards me. I take in a breath when he moves his arm around my waist, pulling me close. My back is pushed against the wall gently as I feel him move kisses down my jaw, a gasp leaving my mouth at the sudden touch. I was just gonna ask. Shoot, I forgot to make an excuse. I panic in my head. Trying to focus on finding an excuse while he was touching me was not very helpful. Leone places a kiss on my nose before looking down at me with a smirk, our faces holding barely any distance. Yeah? He says, when I don't say anything. My brain is rushed at that point, and do I regret the words I say after? Maybe, but at least I could be around him. I want you to teach me how to fight. I say hesitantly, watching as his eyes glint with amusement. Can you handle it? He says, moving a piece of my hair off my face. I feel my breath hitch as his lips move near mine, my body feeling like it's been set on fire. Oh, of course I can. I say quietly, my face turning red when his lips move onto mine. I kiss him back as he moves closer to me, forcing entry into my mouth with his tongue. I X as his hands make their way under my t-shirt, leaving a burning trail on my skin as he moves up to my XS. Leone gently moves me back on the couch, hovering over me as his leg goes in between my own. Do you know how effing hard it is, controlling myself, Principessa? He says, his voice husky as his kisses move onto my neck. My heart races as he's about to move my shirt off, but the sound of the door opening nearly gives me a heart attack as I push Leone off, quickly standing up. I almost turn around and run out of the door, when I realize it's Leone's father who had come in. I look at Leone confused when he smirks at me, until I realize he was glancing at my neck. I hickey. What are you doing here? Leone asks his dad, as he moves in front of me. I slowly move more behind him when I realize all I was wearing was a t-shirt and small shorts. There's no way he wouldn't see the big hickey right on my neck. I had no chance of escaping. I wanted to return this book. I stole it from your library a couple days ago. His father laughs, looking over at me. I burn in embarrassment, hoping he hadn't noticed anything, as I nervously smile at him. I squint my eyes at the book he was holding in his hand, only then noticing that was one of the romance books I had been reading recently. A man in the Mafia being interested in a romance book? Surprising. Oh yeah. How was your birthday? You two left early. I hope it wasn't too boring there. His father says as Leone takes the book. I feel my face flush, knowing why we had left early. Not at all, that was the best birthday I've ever had. He smirks, looking over at me. He was just doing this on purpose now at this point. Good, now I'll leave you two alone, I'm sure you're busy. He says, looking between us and on my neck where my hickey had been. I nearly pass out from embarrassment. I'm never showing my face in front of him again. I groan when he leaves. Why not? I don't think he suspected a single thing. Leone says, sitting down on the couch, and I grab a pillow, smacking it on his shoulder. He didn't even move or flinch. It's not funny, he probably thinks I'm terrible now. I mumble. I don't think he cares, Principessa, and he didn't see anything. I nod my head, trying not to think of it too much. My eyes widen when Leone suddenly pulls me down onto his lap, my legs now straddling his waist. Someone else could come in. Let them. He says deeply, moving his lips onto mine. It felt like my heart was going to race out of my chest when he suddenly pulls my shirt off, a X leaving my mouth as his kisses move down to my XS. My hands wrap around his neck as he continues kissing me, and I feel myself start to move against his pants, feeling his hard through the thin fabric of my shorts as a X escapes my mouth. F. Angelina. He groans, moving me to lay on my back before moving his lips back onto mine, our tongues fighting with each other as his hand cups my X. Leone's phone rings, but he ignores it until it rings for a second time. His lips move off of mine, an annoyed look on his face as he grabs his phone. I sit up, noticing he had a picture of me on his lock screen before he answers the call. A small smile moves on my face, I would have never expected the most ruthless mafia man to keep a picture of me on his phone as a wallpaper. What the F do you want? He says deeply into the phone, anger laced in his voice. He's on the phone for a couple of minutes, speaking in Italian as I wait patiently, and when he hangs up the phone I look up, hoping he doesn't have to go. I have to go take care of something, I'll be back later tonight. He says, pushing a piece of my hair behind my ear. I'm sorry, Principessa, I wish I could stay here with you longer. He sighs, running a hand through his hair. It's okay, it's for work, I say, and he moves down to kiss my forehead before leaving. Chapter 15. Angelina. By the time Leone had come home last night, I was already deep asleep, and when I woke up in the morning he was gone, most likely at work. I sigh, already missing his presence. I understood that work was important, but I missed hanging out with him. Everything had been so odd lately. All I would think about is what Leone was doing, where he's at, if he's eaten, if work was too hard on him. All my thoughts revolved around him, and my heart ached every minute that I couldn't be with him. Just his company alone made me happy. Maybe I was falling in love with Leone, and old me would have laughed at those words, but now I really believed it and I didn't mind. I get ready for the day, eat breakfast, and go to the library as usual. It was hard focusing on my book, considering Matteo was blasting music. Him and some other men I presumed were training in the workout room, which was quite far from the library, yet the music could still clearly be heard. I groan in annoyance when the music gets even louder, slamming my book shut as I storm over to the workout room. How is it even possible listening to that ear-infecting music for that many hours? I slam the door open, regretting my decision, as all the shirtless men stop what they're doing and look over at me. I clear my throat, slowly walking in as I walk over to Matteo, who wasn't even training. He was just changing the songs as if he was some sort of awful DJ. Could you be any louder? I say, trying to talk over the music, but I fail when Matteo points at his ear, shaking his head and mouthing, I can't hear you. Matteo turns the music down a little, before walking up to me, his mouth up to my ear so I could hear over the music. You shouldn't be here, Leone's going to kill me. Matteo shouts and I flinch away from him, knowing he yelled in my ear to annoy me on purpose. Perfect, thanks for letting me know. I'll go text him where I am so I can see it live. I smirk vengefully. I see the fear flash in his eyes as he grabs my phone before I can send a message. Fine, what do you want? He says, and I point to the speaker. Does it have to be so loud? It's only fun if it's loud. Matteo pouts, turning the music down a little more. Finally. I hear a man groan in relief when the music doesn't sound like it was about to blow the speaker up anymore. Do you know when Leone's going to be back? I ask, looking back over at Matteo. I only then notice he was shirtless as well, just like every other guy here. I was just surrounded by shirtless men. No wonder Matteo said he would get killed if Leone found out. Why? You ex-deprived? He laughs, and I turn red at his voice that was loud enough for everyone to hear. Matteo, stop being such a freak. I whisper, glaring daggers into his eyes. He was interrogating some Serbian man earlier, probably dead now. He should be back soon. Matteo shrugs normally. How nice to know. I draw out sarcastically as he walks me over to the door. I'd leave here before Leone comes. He won't be too happy seeing you in a room full of shirtless men. Matteo says, trying to rush me out. Okay, fine, I'm leaving. I sigh, opening the door. A gasp leaves my mouth when I bump into a tall figure and my eyes move up, connecting with a murderous pair of eyes. What the F do you think you're doing here? He says, his voice deep as he looks down at me. I stand there in shock, not expecting him to be back so early. Leone was dressed top to bottom in black, his hair messy and a fresh cut under his eye. His gaze was dark as his eyes move up and down my body. It was terrible to think of at this moment, but every day my attraction towards him just got bigger and bigger, and I couldn't deny how bad I wanted him to kiss me right now. Well, would you look at that, my laundry's almost done. Matteo lies, looking at his watch before quickly walking out and leaving me alone with Leone. Traitor. Are you enjoying the view in there? Leone scowls. All he had to do was look at the men once before they all scrambled to put shirts on. Are you being serious? I sigh. Of course they had nice bodies, but I wasn't exactly enjoying my view. Leone sighs, wrapping his arms around my waist as he pulls my body into his arms, engulfing me into a hug. There that feeling was again, the pounding of my heart, the butterflies swarming my stomach, and the happiness that filled my body just from a simple hug. I'm sorry, Principessa. Leone says deeply, my head on his chest as he hugged me. Did you finish work early? I ask, pulling away when I realize all of the men in the workout room could clearly see us. Not yet, I still have you to deal with. He jokes, a smirk on his face as I roll my eyes. I turn around when his eyes move to the side. A guy with light brown hair and green eyes no older than 17, stood there looking at Leone in absolute shock. It was nice seeing someone who was closer to my age. What? Leone orders, his voice impatient as he looks at the boy. You smile, sir? He stutters out, looking in between us both. I laugh, looking up at Leone who had his eyebrows scrunched together. Who told you you could talk to me? He says, and the guy widens his eyes, looking around for one of the older men to help him, but they all look at him with pity. No one, sir. It was an honor meeting you. I apologize. He barely mutters out with his head bowed down. I notice his hand shaking and feel my heart break. What did Leone do to make everyone so terrified? What's your name? I'm Angelina. I greet like a normal person, unlike Leone. I reach my hand out, and the guy's eyes look at me confused as he slowly moves his hand out. My name is Grayson Vitali. I'm new here, but one day I want to work by Mr. Agosti. He says, his voice determined as his gaze moves back to Leone, but he just rolls his eyes at Grayson. So much for crushing dreams. Well, I'm sure you can do it. Don't lie to him, he won't make it. Leone says apathetically, and I watch as all the hope from Grayson's face disappears. How did you do it? You seem like you're the same age as me. We could be friends and maybe you can teach me. He says, turning back towards me with the little motivation left in him. Compared to the other men in the room, it would be hard for Grayson to catch up, but he seemed determined. I married him. I laugh, and his face drops in realization. Oh? Is all that comes out of his mouth before his arm is grabbed tightly by one of the men. I apologize about the kid, Mr. Agosti. It's his first year out of high school, he's still an idiot. The man says, glaring at Grayson before shoving him back towards where everyone else was training. I feel bad, he really looks up to you. I say, looking up at Leone. He's going to be looking down if he doesn't stop acting so pathetic. He says, and my eyes widen in shock when I realize what he meant. Let's go somewhere else before I murder them. Leone scowls when a man moves his eyes on me. I shriek when he suddenly grabs my arm, pulling me towards the back of the workout room and up to a large door. Since when were there other rooms in here? I look in amazement as he opens the door to a large room, the floor nearly all mats. There were boxing bags in multiple places, and other workout stuff. What are we doing in here? I ask, walking into the room. I hear the door locking, and look at Leone confused. What are you doing? I say, watching as he pulls off his black Valentino hoodie with one hand, revealing his toned abs. You wanted me to teach you how to fight, no? He says, taking off the Rolex on his wrist and throwing it on the ground like it was nothing. Uh-oh, I forgot about that. Chapter 16. Angelina. Uh-oh, I forgot about that. I look down at my clothes. I had jeans on and a thick cardigan sweater on. Did you want to change your mind? He laughs. No, I just need to get myself prepared. I say. I look down at Leone's black hoodie that was much lighter than my hot sweater and pick it up, feeling his eyes burning through my skin. "I'll be back," I say, going into the bathroom to change. I pull my jeans and sweater off, wearing the long hoodie that went down to my knee. It was long enough so I wouldn't flash anyone, and smelled like his cologne. I tie my hair up into a high ponytail before walking out with my clothes in hand, placing them on a chair. "Kazo," he mumbles. His voice was husky, sending chills down my body as he walked closer to me. I move my hand on his bare chest when he's about to lean in for a kiss. "We're here to learn, not kiss." I laugh, watching as his face turns disappointed. "Bummer," he says as I walk over to the mat, going up to the boxing bag. "Can I practice on this?" I ask, poking the hard punching bag. "Sure." He laughs deeply, grabbing some sort of wrap and a pair of black gloves. "What's that?" I ask, confused when he takes my hand in his and starts wrapping it around my hand gently. "To protect your hands before you let out all your anger on that boxing bag, Principessa," he says, moving on to the right hand when he finishes the left. Our bodies were so close to each other, I could nearly feel my heart beating out of my chest. I couldn't help but look up at him through my lashes, admiring his face structure, the concentration on his face, his dark eyes and his soft lips, the way his jaw ticked and the tattoo behind his ear. "You have a cross tattoo behind your ear, are you Christian?" I ask curiously, his eyes locking with mine. "My mother was Christian. I wear the cross to remind me of her. I admired her pure heart, her dedication to being a good person." He shrugs, and I notice the glint of sadness in his eyes at the mention of his mother. "Do they feel secure?" he suddenly asks, finished with wrapping. I nod my head, opening and closing my fists. He grabs the boxing gloves, pulling them onto my hands. They were big, too big for my hands. I notice his initials in the boxing gloves, just like on most of his things. "Wow, I get to use the great Leone Agosti's boxing gloves." I joke, moving my hands around in the black boxing gloves as I smile at him. "Don't waste your opportunity," he says, holding the boxing bag for me as I walk up to it. "I just punch it?" I ask, looking at the bag. "No, Principessa, you slam your head on it until you get a concussion," he says sarcastically, and I glare at him. "Don't be surprised if I accidentally aim for your face," I say jokingly. I look at the bag, down to my boxing gloves, then I do it. My hand moves straight towards the bag. I expect the bag to move, even just a little at the force, but nothing, not even a bit. "Wow, you're really bad," he says, and I sigh in defeat. "I give up," I say, releasing an annoyed breath. "Try again, bend your wrist down and strike with your first two knuckles," he says, and I follow his directions. I don't think it worked. I groan, wondering how people even did this. "Move your body this way," his voice says deeply behind me, as his hands wrap around my waist. I feel my face flush at the gesture, trying to control my breaths, as his hand moves to position where my arms should be. At the same time, his leg moves in between mine, pushing my right leg back a little so my left foot was slightly in front of me. "You don't need to punch it hard at first, focus on your positioning," he says, his mouth by my ear. I couldn't exactly focus with him so close to me, but I just nod my head at his directions. I punch the bag in the position he taught me, and look up at him to see if I did it right. "Better," he says, and a smile covers my face. "So, how long do you think it will take for me to learn how to really fight?" I ask. "Eternity," he says, and I use my boxing glove to punch his arm. "I'm not that bad," I say, moving to punch him again, but he grabs my arm, twisting it behind me as he pushes my back against his body, his mouth near my ear. "Nice try," he mumbles, my breath hitching at his distance. "I know," I say, turning around to face him with a small smile. I look down at his lips, just moving a little closer would make our lips connect. Just before our lips connect, I move my knee up to his lower parts, a groan leaving his mouth as he moves to the ground in pain. "Those were your kids," He groans, and I widen my eyes at his bluntness. You're crazy. I laugh, shrieking when he suddenly trips me. I end up landing on his chest, my hair in my face as I look down at him in shock. Couldn't resist me? He says with a smirk, and I feel my face heat up, about to get off, but he stops me, moving so I was underneath him and him hovering over me. I try to glare at him, but can't keep a serious face as I break into a laugh. He looks down at me, amused as he watches me laughing. A loud knock sounds at the door suddenly, and Leone groans in annoyance. I'm going to kill whoever is behind that door. He scowls, his angry face back as moves off of me, opening the door. I get up, moving behind him. Grayson stood there, a large smile on his face as he looked at Leone, who had a murderous gaze on him. I forgot my water bottle in there, I'm parched. He stutters out nervously, pointing at a blue water bottle sitting in the corner of the room. Leone's jaw ticks in annoyance, but he surprisingly lets Grayson in to get his water bottle. Grayson smiles at me with a wave before he walks back out with his water bottle. Bye, Mr. Agosti, thanks, foe. Leone slams the door shut on Grayson's face before he finishes his sentence. You should give him a chance. I giggle, finding it cute how much Grayson wanted to get on Leone's good side. Maybe. He mumbles, moving my back against the door, his eyes on my lips. I X in a breath when his hand slowly moves up under my hoodie. His lips suddenly move onto my own, and I melt into him instantly, my arms on his shoulders as he lifts me up so I'm straddling his waist. His tongue attacks my mouth, and I gasp as his hand moves down to my butt, pushing me against his X. I was only wearing my thin underwear, and could feel my body heating up at his touch, wanting to get closer. I want you now. I gasp out as his kisses move down my neck and he suddenly stops, looking up at me. Caso Principessa. He mutters, grabbing my hand and pulling me towards the door. I feel my face flush when we walk past all the men after what just happened in the room. Grayson looks at me confused until another man whispers something into his ear, and his face turns into one of realization. How did they know? Oh my gosh, this was terribly embarrassing. We make it to the bedroom, and Leone locks the door, pushing me onto the bed as his lips move back onto mine. He's been so busy lately, it's been a while since anything has happened between us, and my attraction towards him was only increased. A gasp leaves my mouth as his kisses move between my thighs. A shiver running through my body when his lips kiss me through my underwear. Before I know it, my hoodie and undergarments are off, our kisses becoming more passionate as his hands explore my body. The room was dark, only the light of the moon coming through the windows. Leone's hand moves to cup my face as he looks down at me, his eyes gazing at me with a look I'd never seen before. Angelina, he says, and I look up at him through my lashes, waiting for him to finish what he was going to say. His mouth moves to place a kiss on my jaw before the three words that make my heart jump leave his mouth. I love you. Leone loves me? La mia piccola principessa, he says, kissing my nose before moving onto my lips softly. My little princess. Again, the feeling of my heart racing, the butterflies swirling in my stomach, my accelerated breathing. It was more than lust, I felt complete with him, everything just felt right. I love you too. I breathe out, watching as his eyes move up to mine immediately. He looked happy. 5 months later. Leone's father, Adeline Matteo Grayson, and all the men Leone worked close with in his Mafia, sat patiently as I'm about to open the large white envelope. My baby bump had been big, and I kept the gender of the baby a secret to everyone, including myself and Leone. It was hard, but today was finally the day we'd find out. When I told Leone I was pregnant, his eyes lit up, and for the last 5 months he hasn't let me do a single thing on my own. He'd feed me, shower me, help me change, and made me breakfast every morning. I was nervous, but the thought of raising a kid with Leone made me happy. The thought of having our own child together was all I could ask for. I'd never seen Leone happier, and it only made me feel happier myself, as much as I was already ecstatic on being pregnant. I open the envelope, my eyes wide as I show it to Leone. "Tell us already," Matteo shouts impatiently as we look at the envelope. I feel my eyes water in joy before reading the envelope out loud. Fraternal twins, boys. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoy this story. I will post a new book every Friday. The end. Did you enjoy this book? Then you will love King of Chaos, dark mafia romance. Alessio Romano doesn't like strangers. When his underboss Leandro brings his sister Caroline to stay at their home, since her parents can no longer protect her, Alessio is far from pleased. The last thing he needs is another complication. He's focused solely on building his empire and doesn't want any distractions. Caroline Dolce knows what she wants in life. After being brought up by vigilantes, Caroline wants to make a different path from the one that is set out for her. But when she moves into the mafia boss's house, nothing is simple when there are mutual feelings between them. Hate and an uncontrollable lust. And neither of them want to admit that they love the taste of it. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you enjoy this story. I will post a new book every Friday. And don't forget, the uncensored version is only available in Google Play. Thanks for listening.